is slowly dead in me. I feel it come alive. The darkness brings me light. There ain't no stopping it, and you will never have from me. Pain of the change. What have I become? A creature of the night. Ruled by moonlight. The pain of the change. This body's no longer mine. Feel wild and free, but caged at the same time. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. A hunger's arising inside of me. The beast is alive and break it free. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. Keep putting more chains on the beast. Hope it don't break loose. You better hope so too. I'm still inside. I'm still here. What have I done? When did this all start? I have become a monster in the dark. A hunger like no other. Running on instinct. What's this creature? Always inside of me. The pain of the change. What have I become? A creature of the night. Ruled by moonlight. The pain of the change. This body's no longer mine. Feel wild and free, but caged at the same time. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. A hunger's arising inside of me. The beast is alive and break it free. It's hard to be human, think human, feel human. Keep putting more chains on the beast. Hope it don't break loose. You better hope so too. Whoa, you better hope so too. Whoa, you better hope so too. When the hunger wakes me, I live to feed. Where the darkness surrounds me, shape-shifting in the night, stalking you. Does my face seem familiar? Does my body feel you more? Will I change you or will it end you? And the power that I have can give you eternal life. Death doesn't know me. I've become eternal.
All right, folks. That's a vampire song right there. And those songs are available on Paranormal Sound Table. Somebody had asked us that the other day, where they could find those. That's Paranormal Sound Table on YouTube. You can also get those songs, I think, on Apple, all kinds of different places. You can get those songs. Let me tighten this. The other day on the, what were we on? The was the show that fell.
Yeah.
The Patreon show. You missed it, folks. See, that's why you got to join the Patreons. You can see all the bumbling bullcrap that happens. Patreon people are like, I knew this guy was not normal. He's a goofball.
Yeah.
If people knew just how little I cared. I mean, I just, not about them, but about just, I don't care. People are like, you make a fool of yourself. No, keep doing it. All right. How's that? You know, I don't care. You know, we're here to have fun, right? I just. Okay, so we have. Sorry, folks, have to do this. Well, they can't meet between 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a show tomorrow at 5 p.m. Right, and so the person that I'm interviewing, I have to kind of work around with their schedule because they are a busy person too, and we have to work around their schedule. I mean, and there's certain people that I'll do that for. You know, yeah. I'll do that for most people, really. I mean, if they really need me to do that.
If they can't meet between 1 and 2, then can they meet at 2?
Yeah, but then we'd have to make sure we got back here by 5. And that's a hike.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And with traffic and everything.
It's probably still our best bet.
We'll figure it out. So we got 159 people in here. We're trying to get some people in here, and then we'll start cracking it here. And tonight, this story tonight, this encounters that this person had. It's a woman, her ex-husband. I said, well, not ex-husband. She's a widow, so that would be her. What would that be? Her late husband.
Yeah,
late husband. They went through some stuff with something. And it reminds me, there was another guy who had given me his encounters of Bigfoot. So these two are kind of similar. They're kind of similar. The name that he gave me, he said it's Zachary. I'm sorry, Zachariah, but that's not his. He said that's not his full or real name, which not real sure what that means. And when we talked, I didn't really go into it, but what happened was there were 2 stories that I wanted to talk about. One of them is I believe, just a Bigfoot, like a Sasquatch story. But it's not like the normal, like, oh, Sasquatch came up to our property, I saw it, it scared me, he might have done it. No, this dude this Sasquatch was an SOB that did some really horrible things. And this person witnessed, let's just say that they're not a Sasquatch supporter.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Zach is not a Sasquatch supporter. And so I got a couple things mixed up. And I remember like saying on the show, and there were a couple other things that I wanted to clear up to make sure that I can't remember what it was, but it was minor. But it wasn't him that was hit with the cantaloupe. Mm-hmm. That was another person. Okay. Yeah, because I think I said that because you said I got hit with a cantaloupe. I didn't. That wasn't him. So that was a different person. But they got hit in the back of the head almost hard enough to knock them unconscious by getting hit with a cantaloupe.
Well, I mean, it doesn't really have very many other uses. I mean, what do you? So
it's either
what are you supposed to do? Eat it? I mean, we're not savages here.
Let me tell you something. I was
not disgusting savages eating cantaloupe.
I love cantaloupe. I knew he would.
Yeah, see, we're not disgusting savages eating cantaloupe, like it said.
So I was at the doctor's office just as getting blood work done, right? And they ask you, have you been fasting, whatever. And I already knew the question and answer to mine. I hadn't eaten since the night before, and I was starving. I was like, I'm starving. I waited. I did the right thing. This guy goes up there, and he's this really large mammal, big guy. And he's like, I've had cantaloupe. And I was like, so you haven't eaten, basically. You just, you punished yourself. To me, cantaloupe tastes like bad breath, or just, it's so gross. Yeah. It is so, Like, I will eat it if it's on like a fruit tray and I feel like I need to eat something healthy because maybe I just downed like some fried food or something that is not good for you. So maybe I'll balance it out by eating a couple of these nasty tasting things.
Even the texture is just garbage.
It's just nasty. Watermelon, on the other hand, I love.
Oh,
watermelon.
yeah.
Like, I'll eat some watermelon, or what's the green one called?
Honeydew melon?
Honeydew, yeah. But that cantaloupe, man, no. Dude. My mom used to sit there and just eat that. My sisters would eat that. And pretty much everybody around me would eat it. And I'm just like, it just tastes funky. It has a nasty, funky taste to it. So obviously Sasquatch was mad. So he picked up a cantaloupe and he threw it at the guy. Man, I can't remember which guy's name it was. They'll probably message me and be like, that was me. I got hit in the head with a cantaloupe. Sorry. Okay.
Maybe it was an offering and it was offended. Like,
he's out there stomping them.
yeah, like
you
even
want
he doesn't
this?
like
Take it
cantaloupe.
back. What is that movie? I said $1. People.
Oh, yeah.
Can't
you see he's just hungry?
He just wants to be your friend. Look what you gave him. You gave him cantaloupe. Why would he want that?
Here you go, sir. A nice cantaloupe.
Nobody want that cantaloupe garbage.
I said human flesh.
That you were going to give me your flesh.
Yeah.
Instead, you give me this orange crap. Imagine what they do with a pumpkin. I've heard pumpkins are like people eat them and stuff. Like, really?
Yeah, pumpkin's great.
With what? Tell me how you eat a
I mean, I like
You
pumpkin
can bake
pie.
it.
No,
You
shit,
can eat the
everybody likes
seeds.
that, but well, not everybody. But you eat it with what? I'm
mean-
not talking about the seeds.
Oh yeah,
can
pumpkin
bake
seeds
it,
are good, but
But you can also eat the seeds.
What about the flesh of it?
I don't even
You
know
eat it?
how to eat
They
pumpkin
can.
flesh.
Who's they?
I mean, I've
Like,
seen
how do you prepare
recipes
it,
of
though?
You bake it.
You've
Okay.
seen recipes with people eating just the regular old pumpkin. Thank you to those people who donated. We
you
appreciate
eaten
that.
it?
Thank you so much.
I don't know. I mean,
He's like, no, I'm not gonna eat.
I've had a kid.
Would you
I've
Brought,
never
eat it?
eaten it.
a kid brought it to school, and it didn't taste bad. But like,
how
I would.
did they make it? Tell me.
I told you they baked it. I don't
They
know.
baked the pieces of pumpkin.
I don't know if they peeled it to just
What
get
did it
the
taste like?
flesh.
What was it taste like?
Tasted like a pumpkin. I mean, it tasted similar to kind of like
like,
what the
okay.
seeds are.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
But I
I've
think
never
it
had that before.
was just. I would say the taste was just like more stronger than with the seeds.
Nah, man, I ain't finna do all that. I'm good.
I mean, I'll try it. Like,
Yeah, I'll try it, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not gonna like it.
I don't know. I'll give it a chance.
As soon as I put it in my mouth, just immediately. You seen that Bart Baker video
Yeah.
where he's making fun of Drake?
Are you?
My cake tasted like crap. And that's what he did. Started from the bottom, now I'm here. Started from the. He's like working at some like pharmacy or something, you know. But they changed the lyrics. Obviously, I'm not gonna go into the lyrics. It's definitely not even PG-13 with everything. But you know, he's just making fun of it. I'm wearing every single chain, even when I'm kissing Wayne.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? D's over there like, yeah, y'all kiss each other, yeah. You know, you're like, oh, I didn't do those things.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. You know what they're doing? They're being racist. That's what they're doing. No, Diddy. These are black people telling us that you did these things to them. You did things to them.
Y'all need to come down to my big fat wet ass Diddy party. It's gonna be off the chain.
It's gonna be off the chain, fool.
We
I'm
gonna
gonna take
have
your chain and choke you with it.
we gonna have oiled up men's in there.
We're gonna be all these people
All these shiny men's
booty dancing, bunch of dudes.
shaking their booty.
You walk inside, there's just a bunch of sweaty bodybuilder guys. Is there? Oh, the women's they in the back. They in the back there. You go back there. There's like two really heavy set fat women cross stitching.
Well, yeah.
So they could say that there were women there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sounds like a trip to the LBL to me. I'm not doing that. We're not going there. Folks, I'm jokes. This is jokes, man. I'm joking. I was just trying to get some people.
We out here
Yeah,
hunting
just-
for Bigfoot with the baby oil.
You're like, Bigfoot. We know you're big everywhere. You're proportionate. Come on, Bigfoot.
He's like pouring it on himself. I know you out here. Come get this Bigfoot.
Come on,
Come on,
Bigfoot.
come get it. I
I'm
know.
shiny.
Costco won't let us
I
buy
know
baby
you want
oil.
all
We got
this
some
here.
Crisco right here.
They get the big tubs. They get those big. They're at Costco. They're like, sir, we are out. We are out. He goes, you ain't got no more in the back, and he does that. You know who I is?
Mouth hanging open.
And they're like, yes, you're that guy that did all that weird deviant stuff. You're the one that has invested in stock in baby oil. Johnson & Johnson in particular, you have a lot of stock in it.
Come on, get this booty,
They
Bigfoot.
said that if he's got like 100 bottles of it on him at any time, that he probably, you know, I mean, you've got to invest in stock in it.
We out here hunting for Bigfoot booty.
Okay. All right. Enough. Enough. So we had two stories that were, one was Bigfoot, and then we had another one that was Bigfoot. At least we thought that's what it was, by a woman named Arlene. Okay. And so, sorry, we just had to cut loose. Sometimes you just gotta cut loose. Sometimes you just got to go to Walmart and Target and Sam's and Costco and just buy all the baby oil they have, and then run around glistening in the LBL looking for Bigfoot or Skinwalker Ranch or wherever your preferred hunting spot is, and just make those mating calls to Bigfoot so he'll come running. That's what people do. But yeah, so I'm going to tell you this, man. This story right here, like I get these encounters. I get lots of people give me their encounters, and then some of them, you're just like, okay, I'm gonna retell that one. This one, I had to pick my spot. And I'll tell you what. Last night's episode that we dropped, if you watched it, or if you listened to it, if you haven't listened to it, you're going to have to go back and check it out. What did we name it? What did you call it?
Vampire Nephilim tomb found in Mexico.
Yeah, vampire Nephilim tomb found in Mexico. Now it makes it sound like it's something that just happened. It didn't just happen. This was a while back. But I'm going to tell you something. 100%. This woman messaged me today, and I'm going to tell you something. Her name's Gloria. And I've told her story on the show. She saw something that looked like a bear man thing, whatever. And everybody wants to make the joke man, bear, pig. In particular, one goofball from England who's always, you've rode that joke to the finish line, sir. Come up with some new material. But this creature, she asked me a question. She says, do you really believe that this happened? I said, yes, I do. I have no way to prove it. I can't tell you that this is, but the people that were telling me this, they have no reason to lie to me. In fact, it's dangerous for them to lie about it because it would just create problems for them, but they felt like they really needed to get it out there. Because, folks, if you think that the powers that be are just completely okay with us unearthing Nephilim, they're not. Believe me, they're not. They want them for themselves. Now, people have asked the question, why do they want them? I think there's multiple reasons, not the least of which is because there's genetic manipulation going on. I believe that 100%. So I told Gloria, I said, look, I do believe that this is real. And I believe that they unearthed this, and it did happen, years ago, but it still stands. When a particular organization got involved, the sarcophagus disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Why every time something weird comes along, the same thing happened with the Serbian werewolf. That's a case that me and my brother covered years ago. They still to this day haven't gotten it back. I messaged them. I don't want to say the other day because it wasn't. It was I think it was December when I messaged them, because that's when I think it was either November or December, because I remember I had that kidney stone. It was terrible. And I remember trying to talk to this friend of mine about the case with this creature, this vampire, whatever it was. And so, I messaged the people from the Serbian werewolf case, and I got them, response. They don't answer right away because he's always in Slovenia. He's a businessman, and she travels too. But to this day, as of like November, December of last year, I don't know about now, but between now and then, I doubt it. but they've never heard hide nor hair of this. Nothing.
Yeah, they're never going to.
They never got a response. They did get a large payment for this particular, and then they got another payment, but they're still owed a third of it, of what they were supposed to get. And it's been years. So they swooped in and took their own personal property that they had from their own personal estate, which, technically would belong to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's been in their family for generations. That's theirs. That's their, and he even filed a claim saying that this was one of his ancestors. Now, I don't know. I don't know how I would feel about that. I don't want to be like, yeah, that was my ancestor, this wolf-like creature. Because I don't know how would you, but it's an ancestral tomb, and it was buried as a human being, right? I'm gonna move this because I can't see Tony. I can see part of his face, but so. Then you have this vampiric thing, and this is an Olmecan thing, predates the Mayans, because somebody had said in the comment section, so it's like dusk till dawn. Well, first of all, dusk till dawn is really silly because they had just crossed the border into Mexico, and already there's like this ziggurat temple with all these vampires in it.
Right there in Laredo.
Yeah,
just to mention the Grand Canyon that was behind the temple.
Yeah, exactly right. The Aztecs and the Mayans wouldn't have been that far north. So now you would have had some native there. You would have had like Yaqui and maybe some Lipan Apache and maybe some Comanche. But as far as Mesoamerican, I don't know how far they would have been that far north, because that's what Dusk Till Dawn would have been like, right across the border.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this was down in the Yucatan.
That was like the first bar they came up across.
Yeah,
as soon as they crossed the border.
The border's right there. Now, maybe the Aztecs built. Now, this is the funny thing, and I've discussed this with Linda Godfrey, and this is how I'm going to start this out. Maybe they built those temples there. Maybe they did build ziggurats, because I believe. This is a possibility. I'm not saying this is what I believe, but the Aztecs may have come down from Wisconsin.
Really?
Yeah. Because if you follow, there's like a trail that goes all the way from the north to the south. You will find what appear to be artifacts going all the way from the Great Lakes region of Wisconsin/Michigan all the way down in every state, going down all the way to Texas and then all the way to Mexico. And according to their traditions and their legends, they were supposed to keep going until they found an eagle on a cactus eating a snake. So they just kept walking until they found Lake Texcoco and said, yep, we saw it. It was over there. And they're like, really? Yeah, it was that. You missed it. It was really quick. Like, it was like, whoop, and then the snake was good. But the important thing is, as your leader, we're going to stay here.
Yeah. Because
I like this place here. Like, they're like, yes, but him taking poop. Why did we not stay in the? Because ASCII Smurf, it was very cold there. So you didn't see cactuses and eagles eating snakes up there, but I just did. And so you keep questioning me. I'm starting to think that maybe you want to be the leader. Huh? Maybe you want to be the leader. Is that what you're doing? Because I saw the snake getting whatever happened. It happened. Sorry. Me back off. Yes, that's what I thought, ASCII.
It also says that any who defy me are going to be the first to get sacrificed.
Yes.
You dare question the great Huitzilopochtli?
Huitzilopochtli and me were talking the other day, and I'm going to say something. You and ASCII Smurf over there, he's not real happy with y'all because you've been questioning his chosen one. And
he said you guys got some great hearts. So
yeah, because all we ask here in the Aztec Empire is to give us your whole heart. That's it. That's it. And you're asking lots of questions. It's starting to make me feel weird, like you're questioning me a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I see an eagle eating a snake on a cactus, I saw it. I don't need you. I seen it. You understand? You know what I'm saying? You get it? Huh? You like having your eyes? And they were just like, oh, okay. Yes, we get it. Him taking poop. Yes, you, Chief, you know. But one more problem. You're like, yes, ASCII Smurf, what is it? Well, there are a lot of others around us. Mixed tech, Zapotech, tech. Yes, a lot of techs. There are techs everywhere. This is why it's called Tex Coco. So we're going to take from the techs. You understand? Might take some time, but it's going to happen. But this is where we're going to do it now, right here. We're going to grow our corn here, and we're going to start a large operation, cutting out hearts, chopping off heads, and eating some people. You understand? Is that all good?
It's going to catch on.
It's going to be fun. It's going to catch on. The whole region is going to like it. It's going to be a real rager. And then 100 years later, him taking poop's descendants are like, me enjoying this. I'm having a good time, whatever. We catch people. We treat them really nice for a little while. Then we lop off the head, take out the heart, the whole thing. It's a big festival. There's like this jumping up.
It's a great honor. They really enjoy it.
Yes, shaking
being
of the
sacrificed.
tuchus, and then we do the head, and then that's great. And then everybody eats, and we're happy.
It's simple. We take prisoners, we sacrifice them, tear their hearts out, and we get rain. Duh.
And that's not just that. No, they had a whole special thing for that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
The valley of the
it was
the
even
crying
worse.
children. Yeah, so they would march them through a valley, and they would throw stones on them, and the tears, the more tears that the children cried, the more rain you got. It's very simple.
It's basic science.
Yeah,
I don't understand. Like,
The science is settled. This is how we get rain.
you know,
throw
what's really
rocks at
disgusting
kids
to me
and make
is
them cry.
all these Westerners who developed all these like, the sun and the galaxies. It's like, it's very like it's all laid out right here for you. Arlene. They just came and destroyed it all, and now we live under this
amazing
backward, savage science now that we have today that they teach to us in schools. And this whole time, I'm learning all of this for the first time, and I understand
Now
it.
you wake up to the
Yeah,
reality.
the Aztecs had.
I'm ready to
the
throw
right
rocks
idea.
at kids now.
Make it rain.
Mhm.
Yeah, because when they're in the club and they're like, "I'm making it rain."
If anyone knows
All we
me,
needed to do was throw rocks at second graders. That's all you needed to do.
Duh.
if anyone knows me on PRT, they know that I'm ready to throw hands with a child at any moment.
Just as
So-
long as they're not like fifth
And just-
grade.
Now you're telling me I can get rain from it?
Fifth grade and
Exactly.
up, though. He's out. They're done.
We need to trust the science on this. This is where rain comes from. You just find the nearest kid.
Well, the last
you just punt them
administration
like a
was
football.
trying to help us because they were trying to give billions of dollars to another country's war. And all these idiots over here wanted to stop it.
And we need to eat bugs to change the weather.
It is so ridiculous. You could have trusted the science. We should still be wearing face diapers, folks. I'm telling you.
Yeah, exactly.
The science was there. But no, you all wanted to be cute like ASCII Smurf. When him taking poop says, look, this is where it's at. This is where it's at. So what happened was they were marching down from the north, and then they found all of these because corn was not, it was like it started to develop in each of these places. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go into a whole dissertation, but trust me, folks, this is there are a lot of reasons why it is possible that they came from the north. The Aztecs did. And I believe that they probably stayed in different places and said, okay, we're uncomfortable here. Let's move on. And of course, you're dealing with other tribes that are like, why are you here? Why are you in our turf? And so they just kept moving. I think that their whole myth about an eagle cactus, I think it's all bullcrap.
Yeah, it's just.
I think somebody made
justification.
that crap up. They probably had a contest in school back in 1880. And they said,
Mhm.
can you come up with a good, they said, let's do this. And then they just erased history and said, that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. Don't question it. We did the same thing.
Mhm.
Paul Revere, he took off riding around. Paul Revere went to a tavern and he's like, I heard some British are down the road. I need another pint. And they're like, oh, Paul Revere, he rode for hours doing. No, Paul was at a tavern getting drunk.
Yeah, they revered him for no reason.
We revere him because he came in and said, I think I saw some redcoats. I don't know. If you give me some more ale, I could maybe tell you a little more about it. And then, of course, everybody's like, Ben Franklin went out with a kite and got the hell. No. You know what he did? He had one of his nieces go out there with a kite, and he watched and said, ooh, that hurt. Tell me what happened. And then he said, electricity.
Mhm.
These are the kind of things that really happen. It's not the way that they say it is. It's always some other bullcrap.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how history happens. History happens.
They always romanticize everything.
Yeah. And then, of course, Newton, and he's just sitting there, an apple just falls on his head. Oh, holy crap. I was just sitting there, an apple fell, and now I know that gravity exists. Really? Because no, that's not what happened. But that's okay. I mean, that's okay. But if you look at the evidence, there is evidence of this. And I think that Xolotl, the god of the underworld, for the Aztecs, I believe that he is the same deity as, take a guess. Anybody want to take a guess?
Hades.
Oh, come on, man. He's a dog-headed
Oh,
entity.
okay.
Yeah.
Anubis.
Anubis. So here's what I got for you tonight. So this woman, Arlene, reaches out to me, right? And we started on a conversation about all kinds of stuff, the nature of reality, the world, the galaxy, whatever. Her husband is an amateur, or what you would call an armchair astronomer, and he does a lot of studying of this kind of stuff, and it's pretty compelling, like some of the ideas that he was throwing out there about the universe and everything. I would say this: what happened to this family gives credence to the fact that maybe what we're dealing with is not what we think it is. Maybe the world is completely different than what we think it is. Two things. First of all, they started interacting with a Bigfoot. This is folks, please listen to me. Follow what this story blew my socks off. All right. And there's other stories that have blown my socks off. I'm running out of socks. Let's put it that way. In fact, if you donate some money, I could probably buy some more. I'm really poor right now. And I know what you're thinking, but I'm not selling my gold until it gets really bad. I will just go sockless. That's what you have to do. But I'll have some pimp ass jewelry, but I just won't have any socks. But that's on you. If you want a starving grown man to not have socks in the wintertime, that's on you. Your conscience, you do what you want. So anyway, this story really did, though. It did. No, all joking aside, it did it was like, wow. Okay, so I told you about this one. And so what got me about this, it's not a story, it's an encounter that she had, the first one. It just kept going, but the first one was pretty telling. I caught clues from the first one. And I thought, this is not what she thinks it is. But then she threw me the curveball in the middle of it, and her husband got involved. And so Arlene, I'm telling you, this was pretty crazy story. So they lived in Illinois in Indiana at the time. And they would come down to Texas like once, like every couple of years, because she has a sister that lives here. Her sister lives down in South Texas, right? And so in the wintertime, they would come down to Texas, and sometimes they would hang out, and they would stay 2 to 3 weeks. Not technically snowbirds, as we call them, or winter Texans, because her sister stays here, literally, and she's married to a guy down in the valley, down in Edinburgh. So she was familiar with Texas, right? So the first time that she saw something weird or bizarre, she was in Bastrop. Now, prior to the fire that took place in Bastrop, this part was really interesting. You know that it was the Lost Pines. We don't even know how or why, but there was this huge territory, swath of pine trees. And then if you went further east, north, south, west, whatever, there were no more pine trees. It was just right there. Thank you, Slim Jimmy, for that. He said ankle socks. I'm partial to the Under Armour ones, and they're not that expensive, and you can get them at Sam's. But anyways, thank you, Slim Jim. We appreciate that. And if you want to hear Slim Jimmy, he got some stories. He told some stories on the Patreon. So the Patreon is a really good, cool thing to do because he came on there and told his. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. They were in Bastrop, and they were doing a little hike around Lake Bastrop. Now, I'm going to say this. Lake Bastrop is very small. I don't even know why they call it a lake. It's really just a glorified pond, but it's pretty. It's beautiful. And when I was a kid, I went to a church camp around Lake Bastrop, and I went there 3 years in a row. Now, there was a massive fire back in 09, 10?
I think it was 2010.
2010. We'll look it up just to make sure. And it knocked out a bunch of those beautiful old pine trees, right? Thank you for everybody that donated too, by the way. We appreciate it. But she said we were hiking and we were walking for like an hour. She goes, it was beautiful. It was late spring. The weather was nice. It was like early May. And she said that there were flowers. Everything was cool. She said we even saw a snake. She's like, and it was even pretty. She's like, it wasn't 2011. Okay. Yeah. And she said that because when this happened, 2006, so it doesn't matter. But she said that the snake, it like went across the path and they looked at it and they knew that it wasn't the triangular headed. I don't know if you know the difference between like how a viper looks as opposed to a non-venomous snake. Just going to give you the heads up, that triangular head, that's a venomous snake. Non-triangular head, typically not venomous. So just a little quick thought if you're worried about a snake. But this wasn't anything. It was just a little grass snake or whatever. And she said, oh, this is cool. In touch with nature type thing, whatever. She said that everything got really, really quiet. Everything was really still. She says, and I look to my left and I see this wolf. Now, there are people to this day that will argue with me all day long that wolves don't exist, but I promise you, I believe 110% that past Elgin, Texas, going beyond that corridor, especially in the Lost Pines, I believe that wolves exist. If you were to go northeast from there, going toward Rockdale or going toward Lexington, I guarantee you'll run into wolves. They existed when I was young because I ran into 3 of them, and these were not coyotes. These were wolves. And it was right outside of Rockdale, Texas, in between Rockdale and Thorndale. You cannot convince me that we did not have wolves. People will see things and say, that's a wolf. And you'll be like, no, that's not a wolf. That's a husky. What I saw, I wasn't a stupid kid. I was 11 years old. I know what I saw. And it was a wolf. I was so used to seeing coyotes, and I'd seen coyote dog hybrids. These were wolves. They were large. And they weren't really interested in attacking me. They were kind of looking at me, looking at each other, kind of like they were debating it. And there was like a cement plant right there where I had ridden my bike. And I was just up on this ridge, and they were kind of down, and they were looking. And I guess they weren't really interested in or hungry. And I got on my bike, and I took off, and they took off. And it was the one day where I didn't have my 3 dogs with me, which I'm kind of glad in a way, because they would have tried to fight those wolves, and wolves probably would have killed them. Although, even though I was young and the tender age of 11, I had a gun on me. In fact, I had 2. And I know you're probably thinking, what is an 11-year-old doing with an M16 and grenades? Folks, don't worry about that. I had business to take care of. You know
got to teach them early.
You keep asking, want me to look up.
Get them started young.
I'm just saying West Side. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm kidding, folks. I'm kidding. I don't even know what I just did. They'd be like, he was casting them spells. That's what he's doing with them hands. You know. And for all the gangbangers out there watching, they're like, oh, why is he throwing up West Side homes? What about the East locals? I'm joking. I don't know crap about that. All right.
Who you repping, fool?
We're not repping. We're not capping. You capping. Drip, drip, bling, bling, sling, sling. I don't know none of that. All right. So what I'm saying, though, is that there were time and a place and living out in the country in the middle of nowhere. Now, the weaponry I had wasn't real powerful. I had a 22 snake charmer, but I did have a 38. So I would have given them a run for their money if they would have tried anything, but they didn't. But they were wolves. These were wolves. And this wasn't the first time that I had seen wolves. First time I saw a wolf in Central Texas, I was 9 years old. And it was near Lexington. So I can tell you they exist, right? But this woman, she says, Arlene says, I look to my left and I see a wolf. Now, I said, hold on. She goes, I knew you were going to interrupt me. I said, look, I'm sorry. I said, but I got to ask, are you sure that you saw a wolf? She's like, yes, I'm sure. She's like, my husband saw it. My daughter and my son-in-law saw it. And she's like, we were there in Bastrop. We were, and she's like, and we were with my friend Katie, who is best friends with my sister. They grew up together. We all grew up together. Now, the reason she was in Illinois is because her husband was in the military, and they ended up in Illinois at that time. And she's like, this was you know, they're younger than me. These aren't really like elderly people, whatever. But she said we were in the military. He was in the military, and we just ended up. He retired, and she's like, we just wanted to go, you know, down to Texas and whatever. And now he's retired, and they actually do live here in Texas. But at the time, they lived in Illinois. So she says, this is what happened. She said, I look, and then she goes, my husband's grabbing my arm, and he's like, Arlene, Arlene, Arlene. He keeps saying my name. She goes, and I'm zoning out. I'm looking at this wolf, and I turn, I look back, the wolf is gone. She's like, and I see this brown, sort of chocolate colored figure standing there sideways. She goes, there was no snout. It was definitely a squatch. She's like, it turns and it looks at us. She goes, and it looked very aggressive. Like, she goes, the face was, you know, the brows were like furrowed up into like, it looked like it was angry. Like it was looking for something or someone. She's like, and it looked at us and it just looked straight ahead, and then it just bounded off to the right, and it was gone. And she says, we turned around so fast when we got out of there. I said, how big was it? She said 8 to 9 feet. She goes, it was humongous. And she's like, but I couldn't stop thinking about the wolf that I had seen prior to that. Because she goes, when he started saying Arlene, she goes, the wolf had kind of ducked in behind what looked like some ferns. Mm-hmm. Now, she said that when it had disappeared, she goes, I was looking and I was like, did you see that? She goes, before I could even say, did you see the wolf? She's like, my husband's like, Arlene, are you seeing this? Are you looking? And her daughter and the son-in-law were taking pictures, right, of something else that they were looking at. It wasn't anything. It was just the scenery. She's like, and we were, you know, good 12 to 15 feet in front of them. And she goes, we turned around. They were like, what? And she's like, let's go. They get back toward the car. And then he's like, the dad, her husband, says, we just saw Bigfoot. I mean, there's no way that we can, I know, I mean, it's what it was. It had to have been a Sasquatch. And so they were just like, what in the hell? You know, like, you saw Bigfoot. She's like, they were kind of joking and kind of laughing. She goes, I was getting aggravated. She goes, y'all ain't going to believe this, but before this happened, I saw this wolf. Right before I saw the Bigfoot, before you guys started talking about the Bigfoot, you know, and all this. And so then her daughter is like, what? Like, so there was a wolf and a Bigfoot. And then, of course, her boyfriend, or the husband, he's like, well, there's no wolves here. You know, he's one of those, like, actually, basically, there's no wolves here.
Yeah.
Yes, there are. Yes, I don't care what the conservation people say. There's a ton of open land out here, and a lot of it's private. And there's no way to go and check and say, hey, you know what? There's something on your property. Maybe, maybe not. We got 3,000 acres of crap out there, you know, whatever. Bottom line is this. That's what they saw, right? Now, I immediately made a connection to that. And she says, I did not see a connection. This is what she told me when she was telling me. She says, I didn't see a connection. And I'm thinking, okay, so fast forward. They're back home in Illinois, right? They live right outside of Springfield, okay? Or they did at that time. They were staying in Springfield because her husband, whatever. And so she said that at that time, they thought, you know what, we're going to stay there. They liked the little area that they were living in. And they just said, you know, we found a nice little place. And, you know, that was it. He was retiring. That was it. We were going to just stay there. She's like, but then one day, she's like, about a week after we get back from our vacation to Texas, she kept like making it out like Texas did this to you. It was Texas's fault. No, it wasn't. It was you and your sin. You did this. I'm just saying.
Yes, it was Texas's fault, and you should stay out of here.
We're kidding.
We're full.
We're joking. So here's what ended up happening. They get a knock at the door. At least that's what they thought it was. Right. She's like, we were playing. We had a poker night. She goes, and we had a couple over, 2 couples. She's like, and I had made some drinks or whatever, and we were having a good night. It was a Friday night. Everybody was having fun. She's like, and then we hear a knock at the door. She's like, but my friend, she jumped up out of her chair and she was like, good grief, what was that? But she didn't say good grief. She said something else. But she said, good, you know, whatever. What was that? And he goes, the door, you know? Her husband. So he goes, well, I'll answer it. And he goes over there, opens the door, Nobody there. He looks, there's nobody there. She's like, we have a modest 3-bedroom house. It's not, and we're not in the country. This is in the neighborhood, She's like, so he closes the door and thinks, well, that's odd. As he turns around, he hears, bam. And it sounded almost like somebody had punched or even, thrown something at the wall. And that's when his friend got up. And his friend was like, I don't think that's, somebody threw something. I think it was a cantaloupe, but that's my opinion. I'm joking, folks. I'm kidding. So he gets up and he says, there's somebody threw something. And so then at this point, they're all kind of putting the cards down and they're like, what's going on? And she's like, we were in the middle of an intense game. She's like, it was big money, $2 a hand. They're not big gamblers. They're just having fun, drinking and having a good time. She's like, the game was on, there was a game going or whatever. She said, we were having a good time. It was a Friday night, and everybody was having fun. And she's like, what was it? She's like, the whole house goes out and starts walking around looking. Nobody sees anything. And then everybody comes back in. She's like, her friend acted very reserved and didn't speak for the rest of the night. She goes, but I didn't notice this until Monday because we rode together. We were nurse. She's a nurse. They rode together into town because this is like a suburb, right? They go back into town and she's like, we're riding together. And she says, Kathy, she's like, what's wrong? You quit talking the other night. And she's like, oh, I'm sleeping good. I'm not things, She says, well, why? She's like, I'm just not feeling good. She's like, so all day at work, her friend was kind of sleepwalking and she made a couple of mistakes. And one of the doctors kind of got agitated, and was like, look, this is, what's going on. So she's on the way home. She's like, we carpooled. She goes, our schedules weren't exactly the same. She's like, but we worked 3 days together, right? Their schedules overlapped. And she said that we were pretty much best friends. We worked together. We'd grown up together. She's like a sister to me. She's like, in fact, at that time, I was closer to her than I was my sister down in Edinburgh, Texas, because we saw each other all the time. And so she tells her, she's like, you can tell me, you can talk to me about anything. And she's like, and so that day she's getting out of the car and she's like, her friend is holding the steering wheel and she starts to tear up and then she just backs up and drives off. And she's like, so I called her and I was like, hey, what's wrong? You took off and you acted like, something was really bothering you. Well, something was. And she says, look, she goes, can you come over to my house? And she says, well, yeah. She goes, but just you. She's like, and I don't want my husband, I don't know the husband's name, but she's like, I don't want my husband finding out. I don't want, She says, so that drive over there, she's thinking, this is what Arlene was telling me. She goes, I'm thinking it's something bad. Like she found out something bad. Her husband's cheating on her. She's got a fatal illness. I mean, like, what is going on here? But she did know that something was going on because of the way she started acting at the cocktail party, the little party they had, whatever. I call it a cocktail party. They were drinking cocktails. I don't know. So she gets over there. She's like, she's out in the garage sitting on a couch. She goes, they had this neat little setup. I love their garage. She goes, ours was just full of junk. So she goes, I go and I sit down and I'm like, Kathy, do you want to tell me? And she goes, I don't know how to start this. She goes, but that night when we heard the noise, she goes, yeah. She goes, I don't know what to tell you. She goes, I saw something in your backyard. And she's like, okay. She's like, and I don't even know how the words were not coming out. So she's like, so I did her a favor. She goes, I just said, look, whatever it is, you can tell me. She's like, because she's like, at this point, I kind of lied, but I really didn't. She goes, I think I know what you're going to say. And she's thinking, I really didn't. But and a part of her did. So this is what she said. She goes, I saw this thing. And it was standing on the other side of the fence. And its head was above the fence. She goes, and it looked like a monster. She's like, I didn't say anything. She's like, I think her husband's name was like Wayne or something like that. She goes, but we'll just call him that. But she said, I told Wayne, and he just said, oh, that's nonsense, whatever. She said that when she told her this, she goes, I was holding her hand. She goes, and I let go of her hand. She goes, I couldn't even hold on to her hand. She told her, she says, Kathy, you need to tell me, what did it look like? And she told her the description, this big protruding brow, this big mouth that came out like away from the face, but not in the muzzle. The nose was flat, almost gorilla-like. And there were these high cheekbones. So it looked like it might have been, the way that she described it was this, and this is what Kathy described to me, and this is what I think. She says, but it looked almost like a human being mixed with like a gorilla. Also sort of like a prehistoric person, but more ape-like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what she described, and she goes, it was evil. She goes, why do you think it was evil? She said, and then somebody just says smell. Yeah. She said there was this horrible smell that went into my nostrils like sulfur, and then some other unpleasant things I'm not even going to repeat. And then she said, but the worst part of it, she goes, when I went home, she goes, I was going to go and lay down, go to bed. She's like, and I couldn't get the image of this creature out of my mind. All I saw was the head and the shoulders. She's like, but I couldn't get this creature out of my mind. She's like, so I go home and I get ready for bed, She goes, me, I don't brush my teeth or take a shower. I just jump in the bed dirty. I don't care, Joking, dude. Kathy did not say that. I don't know, Catherine, she, how good her hygiene is or whatever, but I'm joking. So she goes, she's like, so I take a shower and brush my teeth. She goes, you know how our bathroom has the mirror? She's like, remember we were joking, like if there was a serial killer, they could see in your house and see you through the mirror or whatever. And she goes, yeah. She goes, okay, well, the window was open. And she's like, and me, I always keep that window closed because of what we talked about. What if a peeping Tom or a serial killer's in the backyard? They were joking. And I don't worry about that stuff because I go back, I'll kill it. Kill it in my house, peeping at me. Once I'm done dancing around in front of you, then I'm gonna kill you. That's it. That's all I'm saying. All right, that's all I'm gonna say. You can get one dance.
I mean, at that point, killing them would be a mercy. I think
their eyes are on fire.
You'd be doing them a good thing. Like.
Oh, so you got jokes. You got jokes too. You got jokes. Whatever, man. Whatever, dude. I would do that dance that Zelensky's doing where he's got that open back. You should see it, folks. He really is a good dancer. I'm telling you. Not good at running the country, but he's a good dancer. And to let people go, oh my God, can you say that?
Should have stuck to dancing.
Well, maybe he should have just stayed with dancing, right? And pretending to be a president. And I'm not defending whatever, because I personally, I'm like this. When people start debating me about whatever, let's just go back to the very beginning. He shouldn't have even been at the White House. How about that? He shouldn't have been there to even get rude. That's what I say. Yeah. I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm like, people are like, oh, no, that's terrible. What happened? Blah, blah, blah. What wouldn't have happened if he didn't showed up and asked for more money? How about that? Have you thought about that?
Showed up in pajamas.
Have you thought about how powerful we would be if we made the right alliances and quit letting the bad people lead us around? Huh? You ever thought about that? But that's what could happen. So, and I don't really care. People are like, well, I'm going to unsubscribe. I don't give a shit what you do. Just listen to the story or don't.
Bye.
So anyways, what ended up happening, this creature is looking through the window and she's looking through the mirror. And she's literally holding her toothbrush and she's like watching. And then she sees, she's thinking, it's dark. Am I seeing what I'm seeing? Her dogs are barking. They're going crazy. They have two dogs on the inside. One is a large dog. One's a medium-sized dog. And they're going nuts. And they're in the next room. So they're barking at something. And she sees these red eyes. And she knows that there's something there. So she's like, drops her toothbrush in the sink, which I think is completely unhygienic. But anyway, she drops her toothbrush and she just turns and she's like looking dead at this thing. The thing is looking right at her. And then it stands up. She goes, and it's so tall. She goes, all I could see was the chest and it moved away and went out of, of view. But it was in her backyard. So she's telling her. So she goes, okay. She goes, show me where it happened. So she walks it back. She goes, I was holding her hand. She's like, and Catherine's hand was shake. She was trembling. So this really happened to her. This scared the crap out of her. So she goes into the backyard and she sees this thing back there. And she goes, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's back here. And she goes, and I became so terrified. And she goes, I picked up a rock and I threw it and I said, Kathy, let's go. And she like turned to run away from it. And she's like, what are you doing? She's like, well, I threw a rock at this thing in the corner. What is that? And she goes, oh, that's my kid's inflatable swimming pool. It's been, and so she threw a rock thinking we're going to run for our lives. And she's like, and I don't even, she goes, and why would you throw a rock at it? And she's like, I don't know. I wanted to see because I thought that's what it was. I thought the Bigfoot was right there in the backyard. So they're both over here. And then she says, I got to tell you something. So they go back inside. She goes, this thing that you saw, she's like, a week ago when we were down in Texas near Lake Bastrop, we saw this creature that looked like what you described. She's like, it looked like what you said. She's like, and I didn't smell anything or anything. She's like, I don't think we were close enough. She's like, but I got the distinct feeling, the impression that this creature was going to show up. Yeah. And so I asked her this. I said, why did you think it was going to show up? Why did you feel like this thing was just going to appear? There had to be something that made you think like it's going to happen, So she says, I don't know. She goes, she didn't have any weird, wild dreams about it until the day before the little get together. She said the night before the little get together where we were all playing cards and doing what we were doing, she's like, I had a dream that this thing had crawled in through the window. She's like, and the way it moved, she's like, it didn't move like how Bigfoot looks like this big lumbering thing, like the thing she saw, that crossed the trail in front of him. She said, no, this thing moved like it kind of crawled in and kind of like a spider. And then crawled up to the bed, and then it lifted up its head. And she goes, and when I turned and I looked at the head, in the peripheral of my vision, I saw this ape-like thing. She's like, but then when I turned and I looked at it, she's like, it had this wolf-like head. And then it just stood up. She's like, and the ape-like body was kind of still in place, but there was this head that looked kind of like Anubis. She's like, and then she's like, it opened its mouth and it just kind of made this weird, like, noise. This is what she told me. And then it was just, she opened her eyes and it was gone. It was poof and it was disappeared. So she tells her friend this doesn't really help her friend. Like her friend just breaks down crying and she's just like, bah, like you just told me that there is this big hairy demon that I really did see what I saw, and it's your fault because you picked this hitchhiker up in Texas.
Whoops.
Basically.
Oopsie.
Oops.
It happens.
And folks, if you're upset about what I said about Zelensky, I don't apologize. I really don't, because you need to be informed. And and I saw these people crying about it and all this stuff, upset. The truth is the truth, and I'm sorry if you're offended and you want to leave because I said something about the little bastard.
Oh, I want my tax dollars going to a foreign country.
So you're never going to get nothing but the unadulterated truth from me. And so I'm just going to tell you exactly how I feel about that. I mean, I don't think that this is not what you think it is. I don't like Putin. I don't think that he should be, I don't think he's our best friend. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But I don't like Zelensky either. Now, if you would like me to do a show and just give you all the facts, if you haven't read my Facebook and seen what I said about it, then we can do a show on Rumble and I can give you 1,000 reasons why. And I can give you the entire history of Ukraine. I'll go all the way back before World War II. How about that? And I'll tell you exactly why the people on the left are wrong, but a lot of the people on the right are wrong too. They're saying some stupid things too, talking about how Ukraine used to be a part of Russia, and that's really what no, that's not what happened. That's not it at all. But I don't think that Zelensky's a good guy. Now, what I do think they need to do is impeach his ass and find a good leader. Now, if someone invades your country, you're an average person living in Ukraine, you better damn well believe you're going to defend yourself. Well, what choice do you have? But it never would have happened if things wouldn't have played out the way they did, because, yes, Zelensky, he was installed.
I mean, my thing is that they can do whatever they want, but you pay for it, not me.
Yeah, that's it. You want to keep fighting, go fight. I don't care. But yeah, and then if you want to, like Madeline just said here, go follow PRT Uncensored on Rumble, and I'll do a whole show and I'll lay it out there. If you want, I don't need charts and graphs, and I can give you information and you can go look it up. But do yourself a favor and don't just go goggle it, because that's not going to give you what you need. Okay. You need to use other servers, right?
Yeah, other search engines like
Search engines. Yeah.
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 Perplexity.ai is a really good one. It's very, very good.
Stop
So go
listening
check
to
that out.
Newsweek too. Okay. Because if you go to Newsweek and you look up and you listen to, that's mainstream media crap. Okay. They're going to tell you exactly what they want you to tell you, and that is not real. Okay. For example, they said he doesn't actually own 11 homes and all this other stuff. The guy owns a lot. The guy is filthy rich. Okay. They all are. Him and Putin are basically like oligarchs. I mean, and one is, am I stepping on there? One is no better than the next. All right. But my point is this: we don't have any damn business being involved in any of it. The reason that we got involved was because of money laundering. It's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have a damn thing to do with us. Couldn't care less until they freaking make it your problem. And it's not our problem. And there's a lot of damn countries out there getting rich off of us. Do you like paying taxes through the nose, which I'm going to have to do this year like everybody else that has to make money? And then guess what? All that money just goes and gets sucked away to some other country. That's my problem with that crap. That's me. That'll always be my problem. See, you see the shirt? That's what that means. Liberty or death. Don't tread on me. This is not, I'm not here to support you. Okay? That's me. And some people say, oh, you know what? You do a good job telling people's encounters. Why don't you stick to that? Why don't you not tell me what to do? And why don't I just talk about whatever I want to talk about? It's my show. How about that? So if you come at me and tell me this and that, you're just going to be ignored. All right? It's the truth. And I can tell you this from the election results, most of the country agrees with me. So I'm not worried about that little percentage that can go F themselves and jump off of a freaking lake into the lake. I don't care. That's the truth. You don't like what I'm saying? Take a hike. I don't need you. I don't want you. All right. And I'm never going to change in my principles and everything else to suit what you want. Right. And when you get a show and you can get, by the way, we hit 40,000 today. 40,000.
Mm-hmm. It's a milestone.
So we had a meeting today with some people, and we called them up on a lot of the stuff that's been happening. Mass reporting, shadow banning, messing with us and our ads, everything else you could possibly think of has been going on. Well, yesterday, I guess, yesterday was Monday, right? It was yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? Or Monday. It was Monday. So now we're where we're supposed to be. And we fixed a few things, and no, we're not buying subs. My hand to God, we're not buying subs. We're not fake views. This isn't fake AI generated stories, fake stuff. There's no fake. No fake comments. People buy those. They buy likes,
Yep.
They buy subs, they buy views.
Yeah, you can buy all
They
that.
put bots in the chats. No, none of that. Everything we do is above board and legit. Can my so-called competitors say that? No, they can't, because you're really not my competitors. You're just little turds that wish you could be me. You wish you could be Anthony and Tony and all of us.
We just put our brains together and it works.
And
Imagine
things
that.
work.
When you use your brain and do things.
We do stuff.
We're doer of things. I'm smart. I can do things. I'm smart too.
I work.
I can do things too.
I work.
I work very hard.
I'm going to tell you, folks, if you would learn to work together with people, and I'm going to get right back to the story, but I'm going to say this. Take a page out of the immigrants' books instead of just complaining about them. You know what they do? They come here with nothing. You know what they do? They work together. They live 10 to an apartment. I'm not telling you to go and cram yourself into an apartment like sardines, but if you learn to work together with people, instead of everything is, this mine, this yours, this yours, this doesn't work, okay? Get together with like-minded individuals that you can trust, okay? And that's a big one, people that you can trust. People in your family, not always the best people, but some are. Get with people that you know will help you achieve your goals. People that you, when you call them up and say, look, man, I'm not doing good financially, they'll give you $100, $200. But you got to do the same for them. That's where the problem comes in. I have a friend, bless her heart, she's great. She's got a business, thriving, whatever. When I was in trouble financially and we were trying to buy that, we weren't in trouble, but we were trying to, the way they make it when you try to buy a house, you got to thread this needle. And you can't use your money in your account. It's crazy. And you can't use your credit cards. So I went to somebody who I've known my entire life and I asked them for help. I didn't. My wife did, but we didn't like to have to ask for anything. But it was like, hey, you know, we just need some money to get through with groceries and things like that. And this person's, oh, you know, that's a person, an only child who's never had to help anybody. And that's the kind of person she is. So I just wrote her off. I'm like, I'm done. I love you from a distance, but I will never hang out with you or be your friend again. Because anybody who will let their friends suffer like that isn't really a friend. So I just won't do it. Now my wife still talks to her. That's fine, but I'm done. And that person will not prosper like we will because we're a pack and there is strength in the pack. Believe me. If one of us needs help, we take care of each other. We do. When somebody needs something, we help each other. Start a business, whatever you need, because that's what you have to do. You have to learn to take care of each other. These people, their children, they leave the nest. They don't even give a damn about their parents. They don't care. They don't, and they damn sure don't care about their grandparents. And grandparents become a nuisance, and then they put them in a home. While you're out running around doing jello shots and being a college kid or whatever the F you're doing. F college. Stop going. College now is nothing but a money-making scam for the powers that be and is an indoctrination tool. Mm-hmm. I dropped out as a junior and I became very successful. By the norms of society, I'm a highly successful individual. I'm driven. Thank you, T. Toey, for that donation. That's incredible. That's awesome.
College is just a mental meat grinder. That's all it is.
40,000 subs, folks. 40,000. We did it. And we did it legit. The legitimate way. No BS, no bullcrap buying stuff. No. Straight up did it. And I just got tired of the bull. I was like, these people are constantly messing with us. And they're buying their subs because they can't keep up. They can't compete. And we should be way farther along than we are. And so that was it. I'm like, you know what? We're done. And so we figured some stuff out. Thank God. My wife is really intelligent because she, you know, and if you're a new podcast or a friend of mine podcast like Blondes and Booze, Tex, BMR, Monica, you know who you are, my close associates. I'll tell you what we did to get over that hump, because there's a little trick that these people have pulled on us. And I'll tell you, I'm not telling anybody else. Everybody else work for it. Do what you got to do. You're not leeching off of me. Okay. I'm telling you that right now, especially somebody recently there's certain people I don't want to hear about. Okay. Going around asking for money and stuff. Don't do it. And if you bother me again, I'll tell everybody what you did. Okay. So just leave me alone. That's all I'm saying. We want to be left alone. You be left alone. Do what you got to do. We did it legitimately. You can do it legitimately. I got no patience for criminality. When you cheat, you're basically a criminal to me. Right? That's what I think. Right? What do you think, guys?
Why not?
I'm being serious. I mean, to me, I have no patience for it. If we can do it, you can do it.
Yep. Being lazy.
Being lazy, man. These people are just being lazy. There's these other channels that like you don't realize like what they do that suppress you. So sometimes you just got to come out and be like, look, okay, you got your own weapons. You can use them. That's all I'm going to say about that. So, anyways, back to the story. What happens is she starts having this like sort of breakdown. Her friend is just completely her mind is not in a good place. But fortunately for the friend, it didn't happen again at the friend's house. Unfortunately for Arlene, the activity stepped up. It got worse. Her and her husband started experiencing poltergeist type activity in the house. Not the least of which is she's like, I'm cooking dinner. She's like a few days after the breakdown that Catherine had. She said the drive home from talking to Catherine was unbelievable. She said, I just could not stop thinking about this incident, this situation, and this creature, whatever it was. She says, I go home. She's like, and then for a couple days, everything's fine. She goes, and then I'm cooking dinner for my family. She's like, and I turn around and all of the cabinet doors, she goes, I have this bad habit, when I'm cooking, I'll leave the cabinet doors open and I'll do it. She goes, I left 2 or 3 of them open. She's like, I know I did it. She's like, I turn around, they're all closed. But get this, all the drawers on the island in the kitchen are open. Sort of an acknowledgement, something is there. She's like, and then another time, she goes, later on, I think it was the next night, she took her clothes and she was throwing them in the washing machine, going in the dryer, and she sees something go by the washroom. So she kind of stops and she's like, our oldest child had already left the nest. He was not there anymore. And she was like, she's like, we had children really young. We were, she goes, I was 17, and so she goes, our oldest child had already left. He was 19 and he was gone. He was living with his friends in a band. Yeah, I'm sure that worked out real well.
Great career choice.
That's always a good choice.
Never fails.
He says that she looks over and she's like, well, it's not him. She's like, because he's living in Indiana. And she's just like, what was that? She's like, and so I'm terrified at this point. She goes, after everything that had happened, she goes, I step out of the washroom. She's like, and I look both ways. I don't see anybody. She's like, and then I hear my name being called by my husband, in the bedroom. And she's like, oh, okay. The only problem is he's at work. She's like, I'm alone in the house and I'm cooking dinner for my husband who was soon to be home. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. And then she's like, I have a bad habit. And I told her, I said, Arlene, you really got to stop crack. It is so bad for you.
Oh, but it's her favorite.
She's like, I don't smoke crack. I smoke cigarettes. And I'm like, same thing. It's terrible. Don't do it. So anyways, she goes out the back door. She's like, I'm a nervous wreck at this point. And get this. This is funny. She smoked menthols. My mother did that. My mother only smoked menthols when she would go to the restroom, and she would maybe smoke 1 cigarette in 2 or 3 days.
I can't imagine her smoking.
It's hard to believe, but she used to smoke cool super longs. She'd send me to the store. I'd be like, hey, Mom, I'm like, are you near? Are you close to me? I was like, yeah, I was going to come by with some comida. She goes, frajo, por favor. I was like, I got to go get the cool super longs. The Spanish frajo cigarette. But I was like, man, I don't want to do this. I said, Mom, it's bad for you. She's like, so is all the running around and talking crap you do. It's bad for you too. Gonna have to throw those chingazos on somebody. So anyways, I had to go and get my mom's cigarettes. I know. And I said, you smoke cigarettes? Sure enough, she smokes like these, these menthols. She goes, and I said, let me guess, you do it so nobody will borrow them. She goes, yeah. My friends and I did that for years. So nobody's like, you got a cigarette? I smoke menthols. And then they're like, and they'll leave you alone. I was always proud. I'd be like, I dip snuff. You want some? I'd take it right out of my mouth. What's up? Timberwolf? No Timberwolf? Okay, good. More for me. Thank you. I just sit there and just spit snuff all. I did it for what? How long did I dip? 20-something years?
Long time, yeah.
Long time, man. I was always dipping snuff. And nobody wanted my snuff. I'd always offer it to them, but they didn't really want it.
Didn't help that you would offer them out of your lip.
Just going right out of your mouth.
Yeah. It's like offering someone chewing gum.
No one wanted to share
want
my
some?
heroin needles.
Yeah. So I told her, I said, you got a horrible habit there. You better stop, kid. And I'm older than you. I can tell you that. I can call you a kid. So she goes outside, right? And she's like, and I'm standing out there. She goes, and get this. She's like, we had this porch swing. And it just started moving back and forth. She's like, and it was right there in the yard. She goes, and I'm not joking, the poles on it, Wolf, she goes, they were digging into the ground. Like it was, she goes, me and my husband sit on it all the time. She's like, that thing never sunk into the ground like that. She goes, and then she's like, I saw the chains and looked like they were about to snap. And then the pressure came off of it. She's like, and this thing kind of went up and down. Now get this. She saw this blurry prism looking thing that stands up. And she was like, she goes, all the hair on my body stood up. She's like, she's like, I'm not joking. She goes, I felt like this electricity. And she's like, and my heart was just pumping, thumping, pumping. And she's like, and I threw my cigarette down and I didn't even put it out. I just walked back inside. She goes, and then she's like, I turn around. She goes, and as I'm in the kitchen, she's like, if I'm lying, she goes, I'm dying. I'm telling you the truth. She's like, I'm not even joking. She said, this thing opened the door. She's like, and you could see it lower the head, where the head would have been, and come into my kitchen. She's like, and I'm standing there, and she's like, she goes, I'm frozen with fear. I'm up against the refrigerator. And she's like, and at that point, I said, Jesus, God, please, in the name of Jesus, help me. She said, and at that point, the door opened. What looked like this prism of whatever it was just kind of shrunk down and went out the door. I said, did it become a ball? She's like, yeah, kind of like a ball with spikes on it, is the way she described it. And then it spun out the door like a freaking Pokemon. She said the next couple days, there was nothing. She said the next night, they hadn't been to church in 2 years. She told her husband, she said, can we go to the Wednesday service? And he's like, I guess. And he's like, what's going on with you? She's like, you remember that thing we saw in Texas? She's like, I think it followed us. And he's like, honey, we saw Bigfoot. Okay. She's like, Bigfoot didn't run all the way up here to Illinois to stalk you. And I told her, I said, well, if you smoke a certain type of cigarettes, it will come for you. And she, bless her heart, she was like, really? I'm like, no, not really. I got you on that one. She was just like, I was like, no, not really. I'm joking. I'm kidding with you. A lot of times when you talk to these people, it's very serious with them, you know, and then it gets real tense and emotional at times when they're repeating these things. So you kind of got to break it up a little bit with humor, because what else do you have?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just be too serious in life. You just got to laugh. That's all you can do. So anyway, I gave her a good chuckle, and she was just like, okay. She's like, because she was kind of a nervous wreck at that point. And I always tell her, I said, look, I tell people, do you need a break? Because, I mean, if you want a break, I can always call you back later and mess up my day and, you know, ruin my schedule and what I've had planned. I don't have a life. I'm just here for you. You know, it's whatever you want. But it's whatever you want to do.
They're always receptive to that.
And they're like, oh, no, not if it's going to mess up your day. I'm like, okay, then keep talking. I'm joking. I did not.
That can emotionally break down later, all right? We got things to do.
Can you please have your breakdown after I get the story? For the love of God. No, I didn't. That didn't happen at all. Arlene, I told you I was gonna, you know.
Can we take a rain check on this nervous breakdown here.
Right now, your nervous breakdown is
for
at
a
about
later
a 7.
time.
I needed it like a 2. Okay.
Ooh, yeah, gonna have to push that to the back of the schedule here. Yeah.
So but seriously, on a serious, she's a sweet person, and her
Yeah.
husband seemed like a really stand-up guy. And so at that point, he took over, and he just said, "Look," he goes, "we ended up going to church." He's like, and it was good. We decided we were going to start going back. He's like, and then things got worse. He said, one day she ran to the store to get some cigarettes, and he goes, and I'm in the, I'll just be honest, I'll say the way he said it. He goes, I'm in the crapper. And he's like, I'm on the toilet. He goes, and I hear on the door, and I see the door jiggling the handle, and I'm like, what, Arlene, what? And he's like, there's no answer. And we're not that couple that plays jokes on each other and stuff like that. And I didn't think they were. They didn't strike me as the kind that are jump scaring each other and making videos on TikTok or whatever. That's not who they are. This isn't a practical joker couple, you know? And so it kept happening. And he's just like, he said, dude, at that point, I realized what was going on. That wasn't my wife. Whatever was on the other side of that door was not good. And I said, what did you say? He goes, nothing. He goes, I just got really quiet. I just sat there. He goes, finally, I hear the door open. He goes, and I'm like, thank God my wife's here. But then I thought, oh no. Whatever is there is now out there with my wife. But he's like, I hear her, moving around in the kitchen. And I'm like, Arlene? And she's like, yeah. And he goes, so then I came out and I'm like, I'm embarrassed to tell you this, but there was something at the door. She goes, and right when that happened, the door slammed, and we didn't even realize that the back door had been opened.
Oh.
He goes, so what we were dealing with was sort of like a poltergeist type thing, something haunting our house. And I said, now I got to ask this. Was there anything that preceded this that you could say there was a haunting that may have been? And they agreed. They did say, yes. When they first moved in, the people that had lived there before were an elderly couple, and they had both passed away in the house. The husband had died, and then 2 years later, the wife had died. And they were older people. He was 79. She died at the age of 79. He died at the age of 82. He was a few years older than her. But they said that they were long-lived people, and it was of natural causes, nothing horrible that unalived them or anything. Mm-hmm. He said, and every now and then he goes, I'd get a sort of a cold gust of wind upstairs. He's like, but he goes, I think it was the older woman, because he said we were doing things to the house, and then maybe she didn't like it, or maybe she goes, and then I would have dreams like, and I'd wake up with an idea of how to do something to the house. So he thinks that maybe she was telling him whatever. Now, this came into play again. He goes, I hadn't dreamed of this woman in a long time. He's like, and so he's like, I just assumed that she had moved on. She had passed on and everything was good. And maybe, he goes, I believe in ghosts because he's like, when I was a child, I saw my grandmother. I did too. I know. But he said that, he goes, so my wife, and at this point she grabs the phone back and she's like, I can tell you this part. I'm ready. And I said, okay. And she says, I went to take a hot bath. She goes, I was, she's I only worked part-time. She's like, I only worked 3 days a week. At that time, she goes, I had cut down to part-time. And she's like, and so I was working 3 days a week. And she's like, but I had to I come home and I had to take a bath because I felt so exhausted. She's like, and I started to, and he's like, he's in the background. He's like, you fell asleep in the bathtub, Arlene. That's what you do. And then he goes, and it's really dangerous and you shouldn't do that. And she's like, yes, I know. She goes, and I did. She's like, and then she goes, this hand pulls me up out of the water.
Oh.
She goes, and I look up, she goes, and I see this elderly woman, but he's like, she's not an 80-year-old woman. She looks like she's maybe in her, early 60s. He's like, and I immediately recognize it because I had seen the pictures when we first moved in. There were some pictures we had found, and it was the woman that used to live in the house. He's like, and then this woman says, dear, this is what the spirit or whatever it was told her. She says, dear, I need to talk to you. She's like, you have something unclean in this house. And she told her, she's like, you need. And then that was it. She's like, I opened my eyes and I realized I had been dreaming this. I didn't go asleep in the tub and fall. Nothing pulled me up. She goes, or did it?
Exactly.
Oh, that was me. I said, or did it? Didn't I say that? I did say that, right? Okay. I said, or did it? And you don't know if it was her. It could have been Satan. You don't even know. No, it was. I don't think it was the devil. But she told her. She said, and she's like, I said, what do you think she was telling you need? She's like, I don't know, Jesus. I said, yeah, that's what I think. But whatever it was interrupted her. I was like, and think about this, folks. You remember when I told you that she saw this thing that crawled out of the window, and it was a dream too, and it looked wolf-like. She goes, okay, so one day we're laying there in bed and we're watching TV, Grey's Anatomy, and that's something I would watch. Get better material. I don't know. Anyways, they're watching Grey's Anatomy. I forgive them. I pardon you. They're watching it, and she says, we're sitting there, me and my husband are watching, and we're on this marathon. She's like, and I look over the corner of the room, and I see smoke. And I'm like, what the hell? She goes, and I don't smoke inside. And I was like, honey, there's a fire. There's a fire. And he's like, oh my gosh, there's a fire. So he jumps up out of bed, and he's like, where's the fire? And she's like, well, it's gone now. She goes, but to the right of the TV, I saw what looked like a fire. It looked like smoke.
Oh, no.
And he was just like, I don't see anything. But when he walks into the bathroom, he sees in the mirror, because that, like, the mirror is like this, right? And you know, like, here's the door. And he said all the way to his, it was to his left. He said all the way to his left, there was this, the mirror you could see, right? He said, I could look and see in that mirror where the mirror is, there's the toilet. Like, he goes, I hate it. It faces the mirror. He goes, but the toilet's facing the mirror. He goes, and I see this thing sitting up on top of the toilet. Not like sitting on the toilet seat, but like it's sitting up on it. And he says, and it looked like a damn werewolf. He's like, and I'm like, I blink my eyes and I kind of go, whoa, you know, and she's like behind me. She's like, what? And he's like, I don't know. I just saw something. Now, this is the thing. He didn't see the wolf that day. He didn't see or have the dream of this wolf-like creature that had gone into her bedroom. He didn't have any inkling of this because she hadn't told him about that. And I asked her why. She goes, there was so much wackiness going on. That, well, she didn't say wackiness, my words, but she said there was so much crap going on that she didn't want to dump more stuff on him. He was having problems at work. They were going through all this crap. They had to pay their taxes. There was all kinds of just, you know, her daughter was going through this abusive relationship. There was all this stuff going on, and the daughter eventually had come to stay with him because of the abusive relationship. She's like, and so I had to tell him, hey, guess what? On top of all of this, you know, our daughter is having problems, and now she's going to be staying with us again. Yeah. So she says our daughter was going to be coming back. She was living in Milwaukee. And the guy that she was with was really, he had started to use narcotics, and she had to get away from him. And so, yeah, she's like, and on top of everything else. So she hadn't told him about this wolf thing. So that lends credence to that they both saw it independently of one another. So she goes, he's laying there in bed, and she's like, he doesn't lay on his back. He's a side sleeper. And at that night, he's just laying there looking straight up at the ceiling. And finally, she's like, honey, are you okay? And he goes, no, I'm not okay. I don't know what that was. I just saw something. And then she's like, I know this is probably not the best time, but, you know, our daughter is going to be coming home. And he's like, okay, that's fine. We're already having money problems. Let's Let's have another mouth to feed until she can find a job. Cool. Where are we how is this gonna work? And she's like, well, her old bedroom is your study, so you're gonna your room, whatever. And he's like, well, why can't she use your sewing room? And he's like, there was kind of like this argument that went back and forth. And then she agreed to go back to work full time. And then it kind of just got lost in the shuffle. He says he went on for 2 days. He didn't tell her what he saw. But eventually it came out. He goes, I was sitting there watching a game on TV. He's like, and then he goes, I fall asleep in my recliner. He goes, I got this wonderful lazy boy recliner. I love to sit in it. He goes, and I go to sleep. He's like, and I wake up and I look and it's dark outside. He's like, and on the TV is just static, like everything had, he goes, and these are these big TVs we have now.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen. These
No.
big, tall,
No, the static's an analog signal.
Yeah, and I told him, I said, that's from the old days. That doesn't happen now. He goes, I know. He goes, and you also don't look out the window and see what looks like a werewolf on all fours looking at you through the glass. And he goes, I shake my head and I fall out of the chair. He goes, and then I wake up and I'm like, and I am just, and on TV, it's just, he goes, news is on. I'm just sitting there and it is dark. There is no wolf at the door. There's nothing there. I am wide awake at this point. He goes, and I'm sitting there. He goes, and this is the second time this has happened in 3 days. The first time it was very brief. He fell asleep. He's like, I was so tired. He goes, I went to the bathroom. He goes, and I sat down on the toilet. He goes, and I fell asleep. He's like, I didn't even pull my pants down. He goes, I was just so exhausted. I just sat down. And next thing you know, I'm like, why am I sitting here on the toilet? Don't you have to use the restroom? I'm tired. And then he's like, it felt like they were being, toyed with or messed with. So here's what happened. He's outside he's helping a neighbor with a project. His neighbor has a teenage kid. And he's got a go-kart and he's helping him work on it. He goes, I'm sort of a part-time mechanic. He goes, I'm really mechanically inclined. So I was helping my friend and we were working on this, go-kart, whatever. He goes, and as I'm standing up in the driveway, I see something walk by going in between our two houses and going toward my backyard. He goes, and I'm like, it was tall and black, just completely black, whatever. But he said it was like, something that was dressed all in black. It was roughly 7 feet tall. So he goes, I'm standing there holding a rag, and he goes, and I just cleaned my hands, and I'm just like, what was that? He's like, so I just drop everything I'm doing, and I go around the corner. Hang on. And he's like, and I go around the corner. He's like, and there, my back door is open to my backyard, and it is a privacy fence. Hang on one second. Pull up my notes here, folks. Hang on one second. He's like, so this back door is open. He goes, and my friend who lives next door, he's like, what's going on? Now, I had told him a little bit. He goes, I've been living, been friends with this guy for years. I've been living next to him for a few years, but because we were really good friends, known him for a long time. And he goes, he follows me into the backyard. And he says, hold on. He grabs a pistol. Now he says, it's very, very, very important. He's like, to understand the fear. He's like, my fear was so palpable. He's like, my friend was feeling it. And he said, so he walks to the backyard. He goes, and it's not like Texas. The firearm laws are different up in Illinois. So you're not, just busting off caps in the backyard at something. You better have a good reason. And you better have, there's all these laws. Mm-hmm. He goes, so my friend was like, okay, I'm right here. I'm with you, man. He's a very good friend, He's like, he told his son to go inside. And his son, said, okay, went inside. They go to the backyard. He goes, and we don't see anything. He's like, but we could hear footfall going around, and it sounded like whatever it was, we were in the middle of the yard at this point, was walking around us in a circle. He's like, I looked down to see if I could see the grass, the indentions of the grass, but I didn't see anything. And it sounded like it was very heavy. So whatever it was actually able to make noise and manipulate the sound around him. He said, my friend got really freaked out. And he goes, I don't blame him. He's just like, this is weird. So he walks and he goes, eventually I walked behind him. We closed the door. He's like, I'm going to go check on my wife. It was a Saturday afternoon. He goes inside. His wife is upstairs. She's sound, or they're not upstairs, in her bedroom, sound asleep. He's like, and my daughter was out looking for a job. He goes, so I go to our bedroom to wake up or to check on my wife, and I wake her up. She sits up. He goes, bolt upright. Never seen her do this before. And she starts screaming. And she starts screaming, it's here, it's here, it's here. At this point, he's like, he sits on the bed, he grabs her, he comforts her. His shoulder gets wet from her tears because she just can't stop crying. And then she can't even remember what the hell she was dreaming about. He's like, 2 days later, it was our anniversary, and we went out to dinner. She's like, and we're having a good dinner, we're eating seafood, and all of a sudden, he's like, my wife just breaks down and starts crying. And she's just like, I remember what it was I saw. And she says, our dog, this is something that's very similar to Zach's case. Our dog was unalived by this creature. When she told him about this situation or whatever, dude, he's like, let's go now. So they went home because she had had this dream and she had just remembered it. When they get home, their pet, the medium-sized dog, I'm not even going to get into it, and I don't even want them to have to hear it. The medium-sized dog was laying in the garage, unalived.
Oh.
So they just sat down at the kitchen table. He's like, my head is in my hands, and I'm going like, why is this happening to us? What did we do? So she says, you remember when we were in Bastrop? She's like, and we went to this, or not in Bastrop. She goes, remember when we were down in South Texas, and we went to that that one park? She's like, and we went way down there, and we went down there by this creek. She's like, and you remember when we saw that weird structure that it looked like it was, you know, there was a bunch of tree limbs that had been bent. You know how Bigfoot habitation looks, right? We've seen it.
Yeah. Here.
I've even made a video of it, folks. I did a live video where we believe we found habitation. I don't remember what it's called. It was one of the live streams we did, and it was just we were outside running around doing stuff, you know, off of Spicewood Springs. And you can look it up. You can probably find it. And we videoed it. And then the tops of the trees that are like 9 feet, 10 feet tall, and you can see broken branches. Every other one was broken. Something did that. Right? Okay. So she says, remember when she goes, I've been trying to figure out what we may have done. She's like, do you remember when I took that stick? She's like, and when I went to pull it, I pulled it up and I couldn't pull it. And I really wanted it. It was a hard piece of wood, but it was bent. And she goes, and you and Robert, that's their son-in-law, pulled it and it popped. And then the little structure kind of collapsed on one side. And he says, yeah. She's like, well, the next day when we went to up to Central Texas on the way home, and we stopped in Bastrop. She's like, do you remember that? And he said, yes. And she's like, well, what if we did something? She's like, I've been looking into Bigfoot and Bigfoot habitation and, you know, what they make these weird structures. So she showed him some pictures. And he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, so that could have been. She's like, yeah. He's like, but it looked so old and like it looked like it had been weathered and it had been nothing had been there for a long time. Well, probably not. She's like, but what if these things are, like some people believe, not fully flesh and blood? She's like, with this up to this point, they had no whatever. So they go out of town to visit her cousin. Her cousin, they live out in the middle of nowhere, out in the country, whatever. They figured it would do them some good. So they took the daughter. The daughter didn't want to go, but they were like, look, you shouldn't be in this house by yourself. So they left her there. This is kind of funny. And just something to make me laugh, but they left her there, and something appeared at the foot of her bed and was like crawling around in the room. That's all. That's the only part of that I got. I don't know what it looked like, but apparently she got up and was packed and out the door and ready to go hang out after that. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Try to tell you.
Yeah. So not that I think it's funny that, but she's just like, I'm not going to go. I'm going to stay here. And,
Like, oh, I don't take this serious. Like, oh, crap. Okay.
I'm going to pretend to look for a job. Y'all do what you want. I'm kidding. I don't know you. I'm just kidding. But anyways, so her daughter decides that she's going to stay there or whatever. And by the way, that daughter they have twins. So that was, the other daughter lived down in the valley or whatever. So she was like one of the twins is staying there at the house. So she decides, hey, you know what? It's prudent for me to go ahead and go with you. So she calls them up, and they're like 20 miles down the road. And she's like, hey, you know what? Can you come back and get me? Or I can meet you there. I'll go out there to cousin so-and-so's. And they're just like, okay. So they come back and they pick her up, and then she jumps in the car and she tells them what happened. Well, when they get out to this, what amounts to a small farm, there's a few animals there. You could call it a farm. She's like, we're out there and we enjoy the nature out there. We've never had a bad trip. She's like, and we're all sitting on the front porch. She goes, and the subject comes up via my daughter because she had told her cousin, this is her first cousin's daughter. So they're cousins, She says she tells her cousin that she saw something in the room. And she's like, yeah, my mom and dad have been going through all kinds of weird crap. And she's over there like, don't tell them. We don't want them to know. We think that we're a bunch of crazy people or whatever. And then she's like, my cousin, Henry, who's a very avid outdoorsman, he's like, oh, you saw Bigfoot. Very candidly. Didn't even whatever. She's like, I don't know that it's Bigfoot because it's now turned into something that's haunting our house. And I'm not real sure what we're dealing with. And so then he sat down on the porch, and she's like, he's a really gentle soul, very good Christian guy. She's like, he just smokes a pipe, and he's just sitting there smoking, And she told him, she's like, I don't know what this is that's going on. And he told her point blank, he says, what you're dealing with is demonic. He's like, it's a Bigfoot, yeah, but these things are more akin to demons than they are people. She's like, what do you mean? She goes, well, we had one on our property. She's like, well, I never told. He goes, I would never tell you this. You city folks ain't going to believe me if I told you all the weird things they were doing. They were out here in my watermelon patch. They were out here taking all kinds of stuff. He goes, and finally, he's like, I had to go out there and I had to deal with them because they started messing with my livestock. And they had a few goats. And he goes, and they stole one and then another. He goes, so when one of them came near the porch one day, trying to take one of my pigs, he goes, I shot it. And she was like, really? She goes, yes. He goes, I shot it. He goes, and then he goes, I hit it point blank and it didn't do anything. She's like, it turned around and it ran really fast and it got smaller and smaller until it was like floating. Like it looked like a person running up in the air, turned into a white ball of light and then a flash, and then it was gone by the edge of the trees. She's like, that day I decided guns aren't going to work on these things. So what he did was, and this was unorthodox. Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't, but he put a scarecrow up in his patch, in his 3-acre garden he had there. It was about 3 acres worth of vegetables and stuff. Pretty big size thing. And he stuffed it with pages from the Bible. I don't know. I've never heard anybody do anything like that. But she asked him about it, and she said, did it work? He goes, it must have. Either that or the shot from the gun scared it away. He goes, never had a problem with it again. He goes, I was out on my tractor one time, out on the edge of the property. He's like, and no, nothing happened. I saw one standing there, and it just turned and walked back into the woods. He's like, so they're around, He is of the opinion that they actually have sort of a hive mind, and if you mess with one, you mess with others, and they kind of let each other know. I personally think this is my personal belief. I think it's a vibration. I think everything is vibration. When I bring my guest on tomorrow night and we talk about these things, think about it. You'll probably agree. But then again, maybe you won't. I don't know. But I do believe that it is all vibration. It's definitely vibrations. There are people who will tell you that these things are flesh and blood and they're just 100% flesh and blood. And I think that people begin that way, but I don't think they stay that way. I think what ends up happening is that, have you ever noticed people that they always kind of start out at flesh and blood and then they move towards it being spiritual? It never seems to be the other way around. Have you noticed that? What do you think?
I think so. I mean, I guess it kind of just depends on the encounter. I mean, I think I've heard of both ways though. I mean,
I haven't.
Really?
I've never once heard of anybody who started out believing that it was a spiritual thing and then said, no, it's all flesh and blood. The only person I think I've ever heard.
Oh, no, I don't think they go fully. I think they go into like, oh, it might be or like they might be both.
You know what? I take that back. There was one YouTube podcaster. He's started coming back around now. He's an idiot. He's a real moron. He's the only person I've ever seen do that, like openly do that. But I don't think he was being serious. He was doing it to spite the people who were saying that because he wanted to create a narrative because I don't think he was really believing that. So I guess he would be the only person that I've ever seen do that. And I'm not saying he's a moron for that. He's a moron for many other reasons. There's many other reasons why he's an idiot. But it's not from that. That's just him. I think he was just doing that to try to like go against, whatever was being said.
I mean, I agree with you. I don't think they go fully like, oh, it's 100% physical, but I have heard of them going like, oh, it might be a mixture of both from spiritual to physical.
But most people that I know that I have dealt with and talked to have always just sort of started off as, or let's put it this way, not everybody starts out that way, but the people that I know that have converted, they started out flesh and blood and went to spiritual or something that's in between, like you said, both. I've never seen it the other way, other than if you count that one failed podcaster who, started calling it an animal or whatever, just because. Well, one, I mean, when you do drugs, I mean, it'll make you say all kinds of crazy stuff. And when you have crazy emotional problems and then you join the Communist Party, no telling what'll happen. You'll be able to say all kinds of crap. Okay. And that's what this little shit did. But I mean, he started saying all that because he was mad at me and other people and wanted to, latch out. I don't think he believes in anything, honestly. This is all just a grift to them. And honestly, folks, there's a lot of people out there that are just grifting. That's all they're doing. They don't care about this one way or the other. They don't give a damn. But yeah, I guess if you count him, he's the one and only time. Now I know a couple of other really hard-headed researchers, the DOGMAN researchers, that have just absolutely swore to upholding the idea that these are some kind of weird animal that walks upright. Now, give me a break, dude. I mean, those people will never, ever, and I promise you, they will never prosper. Never. They will never, because that's not what this is. This is not an animal. This is not an undiscovered animal. I'm telling you. I don't think Bigfoot is either.
No, not at all.
Now, here's what happened. When they were staying out there at their cousin's place, she's like, I went outside to smoke a cigarette in the back. The front, you go across this dirt gravel road, whatever. There's a barn, and then there's like a carport where they keep, and then there's like this other area where they grow different vegetables and stuff. It's a really neat place. She's like, there's an old windmill and a well, and you go around the back, and then there's like a little garden. It's like a flower garden that her first cousin's wife made. Is really beautiful. She said it's like a dream. It's such a beautiful place. She's like, and even when it snows in the wintertime, she goes, it's so pretty. It's like a postcard. She goes, you go to the back, and if you go further back, she's like, then there's like this big garden, and it's sectioned off into 3 different acres. And it's 17-acre property, right? And she goes, it's really pretty. She's like, and then down the road is where he actually farms land. She's like, that there is not really the farm. The farm is actually down the road. She's like, that's just where they stay, but they've turned it into like a little paradise, is what it sounds like. She's like, so I'm back there. She goes, and while I'm sitting there, she goes, I see this thing peek its head around the corner and then crawl out into the open. She goes, and it was sleek and lean looking. She's like, and then I look up and I see this black swirling smoke and this tall creature. She's like, it looked like 2 different beings kind of becoming one entity. She's like, and it was so weird. This sleek, lean, wolf-looking creature is what she described it as. She could finally see what it was. Like this head on this thing was like a wolf. She's like, and its head fit into the chest of this big, dark, sort of chocolate-colored, Bigfoot-like creature. And she said that it was like a melding of 2 different creatures. She goes, and I saw it. She's like, and it had this big, humongous wolf-like head, these big, huge shoulders, big traps, giant arms and legs, straight legs, straight up and down. They weren't backward bent like a werewolf or anything. She's like, and this thing bounded toward me. My words. I just say bounded because that's how it sounded like. She said that it bounded towards her. She's like, she goes, and I was frozen with fear. I could not move. And this is when I asked her, I said, let me ask you a question. I was like, well, she'd paused. I didn't just interrupt, but I said, hey, I said, have you ever heard of this creature called a gugwig? Of course, she didn't. She didn't know what that was. I said, it's a Native American term. It comes from the North, but a lot of people describe this thing as being like something in between a werewolf and a gorilla or a Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. And she's like, that is what I saw. And I said, it's very interesting because at different times she would see something that looked Bigfoot apish like. And then at other times she would see this wolf-like creature. And so she says at that point, she goes, I couldn't figure out what the hell it was. She goes, but she's like, there were crosses all around that garden. They were all over. She goes, my cousin, they had put crosses all, they were very religious people. And he himself had said he had dealt with this before. She's like, when this was going on, he comes outside, her husband and her cousin come outside. She's like, I'm frozen with fear. I'm looking right at this thing. They don't see it. And I can't even tell them what I'm looking at. And then there's this old mirror, like an old, like partially like broken mirror, like it's out of the frame. Mm-hmm. And it's hanging from a tree right there. She's like, and her cousin just stops, pulls his pipe out of his mouth, and then runs back inside and comes back out with a 12 gauge and says, don't move, don't move, don't move. And she's like, I'm not moving. We're just sitting here. And her husband's like, what's going on? And she's just like, and then he begins to fire. And she goes, this creature that she had seen just looked like a blob standing there at this point. She could not see any features on this thing. And he starts to fire at this thing. She's like, it splits into 3 different parts, almost like balls of multicolored light. She said like prisms, and they all went in different directions. And she said that he continued to fire in the place where this thing was standing. And then her husband saw the weird balls of light or whatever they were. She's like, and it was the weirdest thing. She goes, this thing like had melted into like one big, like wax looking thing. Like it was melted wax. And then it turned into these balls. She said that when he began to fire at this thing, he said, get inside, let's get inside. They all went inside. There's this freaky, whatever the hell it was, had just happened. he told them we need to pray. So they all prayed. While they were praying, the lights were dimming and coming back on, because these things, they feed on electricity. Right? I believe that. They really do. Why do you think they're seeing their power plants and all these other different,
Mhm.
To me, it just makes sense. That's so whenever they went inside and they prayed, she told him, she's like, what did you see? And he goes, I saw something in that mirror that looked like a freaking monster. He goes, it kind of looked like what I had seen before, but it had this weird snout. And she goes, yeah, that's exactly what I saw. It looked like this creature, like something between a Neanderthal, a gorilla, a person, and a wolf. And he's like, yeah, that's what I saw. Husband didn't see it. All he saw was when the thing broke up into these balls of light. And there were 3 of them, 3 balls of light that went in different directions. After this happened, they go back home after a couple days. They don't really talk about it. They just kind of like put it on the back burner. They went for a drive out in the country, which was nerve-wracking, not fun, like it should have been. And then she said it used to be fun. She's like, and then we go back home. She's like, and this was years ago, and now there's nothing. And now they live here in Texas. But she said there was nothing. Nothing else happened. The activity at the house ended. There was no more whatever. They lost their dog, unfortunately, to whatever this was, and a cat. Cat disappeared. They never saw it again. But according to her cousin, when he was dealing with these beings, he lost several head of livestock and a couple of pets. And so I don't know.
So after this incident, that they didn't see it.
There was
ever
nothing
again?
else. There was one other thing she said had happened. I remember her saying it was just a Bible. They had put a Bible up on the fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
And one day when they came home, and this was like a week after all of that, the pages on the Bible were turning, and it ended up and it stopped at Revelations.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I read, and there was nothing. I mean, it was talking about, the 4 beasts saying, come and see, and that was, it was nothing that I could, from what she told me, that part of the Bible that she read, I didn't find anything that would be like, aha,
Yeah.
So that happened, and then that was it. And then there was no more. And then they made plans to move the heck away. And so now they're living down, here in Texas, out in the hill country. But they think that it may have started because they took a stick away from a habitation of a Bigfoot habitation down in South Texas. That's the only thing they could figure out. What, though, is really troubling, like when they were in Bastrop and they saw, why did it appear there? Here's what's weird too. The creature that they saw in Bastrop, Texas did not look the same in the face as the one that her and Catherine saw. It looked different. She said, yeah, that's what I saw, but it was a different color and it looked different. The wolf that she saw, I immediately thought there was some sort of connection there. Why did she see the wolf and her husband see something else? These beings, I'm telling you, they are able to make themselves look like something to you, something to Tony, something to me. They'll all look something different.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody has any questions or whatever, shoot. I don't know.
And both times that someone shot at this thing, it turned into one or more balls of light.
No, this thing was only shot at one time.
What about the incident where
that was a Bigfoot creature that her cousin,
mm-hmm.
her first cousin, shot at because it he wasn't on the porch. It was walking by the porch carrying a piglet.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, it was already unalived. And so he was like, I'm done with this crap. So he went out on the porch and just point blank shot at it. And then it began to run. And then, and eventually it turned it. He said it was weird. It was like running, and then it was almost like it shrunk, but then it was up off of the ground, still running, but it wasn't on anything solid. And so then it got to the edge of the woods and then turned into like a light and was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So there is something to be said about that. That speaks to the possible, the Nephilim nature of these creatures. And I'm not saying they're all that way, because a lot of them are very physical. We've heard of them getting shot and bleeding and even dying. But I think that there is a type of something that goes on that's something we can't really comprehend. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Exactly, Evan. That's a good point. Evan just made a good point. He said, why is prayer always people's last resort? Should be the first thing they do. It is the first thing I go to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's another good point. And Dick Richards says, hey, Wolf. Oh, and Dick, I want to address what you had asked me about your swag bag. The shipping to Canada is astronomical, but because you are a longtime listener and you're a great supporter of the show, and you've been a Patreon member for so long, we're going to be doing mail offs tomorrow, right, Tony? You and Maddie. So send me your information to the Paranormal. We need to make that email. I'm sick and tired of it not happening. I don't blame you, because you got so much going on, but I'm just aggravated because we're not getting things done. But send me your information, Dick, and we'll send out your swag bag. Okay.
Yeah, I'll get it to you, Rick.
Yeah, we'll give it to you. But that was a good point. He said, what about that? Because they're legion. We're many. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that her cousin Harvey or Henry or Harry, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. It was started with an H. But it was interesting that he had said that he thought that they may have had he didn't use the words hive mind, but what he told her was basically that, like, if it happens to one of them, it happens to all of them, because the other ones, he said that he had encountered. Now, I didn't get into, how many he had encountered. I don't know. He may have been going through it. Who knows? But when he saw that thing, he didn't waste time. He saw it in the mirror. It was full on for her, but he saw it in the mirror of that old timey mirror that was out there hanging from a tree.
Yeah.
That they had nailed to a tree. Now, here's another thing that's interesting too. One of the people that I've interviewed not too long ago had said that these things, they oftentimes they will run and they will hide behind trees, and they get sort of like an energy from the tree. You know what I mean? This is not the first time I've heard this, and I've heard other researchers. And when you listen to the show, one of the people that we're recording with, they'll tell you, like, that's what they believe, that these things get energy. Mm-hmm. They suck energy from things. And if you listen to this encounter and you listen to this other guy, Zachary's encounter, because I think they go hand in hand. They don't know each other, but they're very similar. Because what happened to Zachary was just absolutely abhorrent, because this thing just was just hell-bent on hurting them, and trying to do something to them. And they couldn't for the life of them figure out why the hell it started.
Yeah.
Well, Walter, that's a good question. We don't have bodies, and that's why I don't believe that they're flesh and blood. I believe that they can do things like flesh and blood, but that don't mean that they are. But think of this too, though, Walter. Here's another thing, guys. You're walking around in the woods. How many times have you stumbled upon bones? It doesn't happen very often, but things are living and dying in the forest all the time. Mm-hmm. Look at pastures. I remember when I was a kid, one of our cows got tore up pretty bad by a pack of coyotes. And then, that thing went out there. It was out there for maybe 2 days, and it was almost gone. Even the bones had been drug away.
Yeah. Nature has cleanup crews.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it wasn't that we didn't, it just that it had been missed because we hadn't been out there for a couple of days out to the pasture. And so, and unfortunately it was my fault to go and feed, when you're, 14-year-old kid. You got other things you want to do. My parents, well, my dad, and I was working for, a relative, and I was supposed to go out there and take care of it. And I just kind of, and so, long story short, like it had been 2 days. It couldn't have been longer than that. And it was missing most of its parts.
Yeah.
So, and it was definitely coyotes, but wasn't nothing supernatural about that. Thank you, Gwen. That's awesome. She joined the Patreon.
Oh, thank you so much.
So Scorpion has a good point. He says, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I believe these creatures can H.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm screaming.
Scorp has been saying it for a long time, but they glint in the woods.
Dropping that wisdom right there, Scorp.
I'll be come back screaming. I'll be like, oh. I'm sorry. I just folks, I'm joking. Scorp, pray for Scorp. He got beat up by a weak homeless person last night, dude. That speaks to how weak he's become. And so just a few of your donations, and maybe he can get him a gym membership and stop being so weak.
I saw the guy that did it. It was he had his walker,
Gary Coleman,
and he was going down.
Webster.
No, that Six Flags guy, the one that dances.
Oh god.
Well, that guy's got some moves though. You got to be careful with that dude.
He's definitely faster than Scorp.
I think he was that dude that did from the Fat Albert cartoons. Baby, it's a big truck of ice cream. I bet you he beat your ass. That's what I think. Scorpion's over there like, oh, he's getting all mad. Scorp, no, for real. Scorp got punched in the face by a homeless person. Now here's what's messed up. Somebody was ragging on me. I don't know, one of the many places that people go to rag on us. Could be where the little shits on the go, where they go to Reddit, or they go and they hide and they talk all this crap. Can you get you? But they don't show themselves, or they build a group and then everybody's anonymous, because they're not going to come out and say it.
Skilled. Skilly.
So what I guess Scorpion, I'm not trying to mess with you, pick on you, whatever, but the homeless people here, okay, I'm not messing with people for being poor or homeless. I wish people would quit saying that, because that's not true. But the homeless people here, they'll beat your ass because they're aggressive. They're actually pretty violent.
Oh yeah.
So that's, Scorp got sucker punched. At least he says.
I feel like if you never deal with homeless people, then you can't talk about them. But like we deal with them on almost like a daily basis, pretty much.
Yeah.
Some job sites, it's more than a daily basis. You can't get away from them. So like, if anyone has complaints, it's us who have to fight them pretty much every day.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Dude. Let me tell you. On Congress, and then over at the wall.
Yeah.
Dude, what in the hell, dude? Like, I mean, you want to tell me about these homeless people, these wildlings over here at the wall? Go work over there. And then when they jump the fence and they steal your stuff, or they try to throw spears at you, I'm not even kidding.
No, homemade spears.
Homemade spears that they threw at us. Some of them even took shots at us with guns over at Remington. That sounds funny, Remington. But it was called Remington. And literally, one of the ladies that works for us, when I told her about that, she goes, "Oh my gosh, I used to live there years ago. I moved away. It was horrible." And I was like, "Yeah, we're doing a fire watch over there." And she's like, "Ugh." She didn't want to work there. And I don't blame her. Mm-hmm. It's a violent place. They shot at us. Okay? They can't afford housing or whatever, but they can get a gun.
Yeah.
They can make homemade spears. And, you don't know what it's like until you are confronted with a 5'2" little skinny woman that weighs about 80 pounds talking about, "Who do you think you are? I'm the boss. You're going to respect me." And I'm just kind of going like, "Yeah, okay, lady. Yeah, okay, sure. You're gonna whoop my ass, right? Okay. And then you look over and she's got these two Mad Max people,
Yeah.
you know, and you're just like, you're in the middle of a city. This isn't the Thunderdome. What are you, you know? And then they're like, come on over here into the woods. And I'm like, okay, I will. Then you go into the woods and you hear what sounds like 40, 50 people screaming, you know, and making all kinds of noise. And you're with like 3 other big guys, but there's only like 4 of y'all.
It's like the forest in Teutoburg.
And they're just like, there's Celts all up in, you're the Roman soldier and there's Celts all around you.
Mm-hmm.
There's Germani there. And you don't know what it's like until you've experienced that. And then I just like kind of moonwalked back out of there. I was like, oh,
The trees, they speak.
I tried to be cool about it though.
And
I
they're
was just like,
homeless.
you know, but you know, how cool can you be when you're retreating? Especially when you've got this little 5'4" woman going, yeah, I told you, boy. I told you. You know, and you're just meth Celts. Exactly. So I'm just kind of like, you know what? I just felt the rhythm. Let me just moonwalk out of here. Because you can't turn around because you probably end up with a spear in your back. Luckily, you're wearing a vest. Right? And I don't know who's going to shoot me or stab me or shoot me with a crossbow in the neck. These people you don't understand. They're not living in this world. Do you think they give a shit about, you know, I mean, they're over there holding signs, I'll work and, you know, for you know, whatever. And I might not kill you, you know. I mean, you know, you're over here like, we'll work for paying my Visa card. I mean, you know, that's the world you're living in. I'm not living in their world, okay? I'm making house payments. I'm making car payments. I'm paying for the rent of the studio. I'm doing this show. You know, we're getting people's encounters and other people coming on the show and telling their encounters, stuff like that. Do you think they're so far removed from the civilization that we are in? It is not even funny, dude. And they have their own little world. They have their own little trading posts. I'm not even joking. They have Bartertown over there by Barton Springs. Who run Bartertown? I don't know. Whoever's eating people over there. If you think I'm joking, get your ass down here to Austin and I'll take you around and you can walk up into the Teutoburg Forest and go ahead, go. Where even the state troopers won't go unless they have a dozen armed men. Then tell me about the homeless people. I'm not disparaging homeless people. I was homeless at one time, and I slept in my car, and I beat people up in alleys. I didn't jump them and rob them. No, I fought people. That's how I made a living. That's how I did what I did. I fought. That's what I did. Right? Okay. These people, they're living like Mad Max. You want to talk about living La Vida Loca? That's what they're doing. Damn straight, you don't want to come mess with these people. They're crazy. Mm-hmm. And get this, the people that were doing this craziness to us, they had been pushed out by another tribe of what? What were they, guys?
Cannibals.
Mm-hmm. Cannibals! Not making this up. Not making this up. I got witnesses. Maddie's one of them. She worked over there. She can tell you. Another guy that worked with us is Clark. He's always on PRT News. Ask him yourself. Ask Scorpion. Ask D. Ask Tony, Anthony, me, and a slew of other people. These people are going around doing the most outrageous shit you could possibly imagine. And then people are like, you're disparaging homeless people. These aren't homeless people, dude. This is Fury Road or whatever it's called. Okay? This is this is Tom Hardy shit. I'm not equipped for this. I'm doing security. And you know what the police do? You know what they say? Yep. A volcano, huh?
Well, I never.
And then you're like, excuse me, officer, excuse me. Yes? Oh, well, it's about lunchtime. Time to go get some victuals. Yeah, well, what about the homeless people? Oh, they'll still be there when I'm done eating at Hooters. I'll see you.
Pretty much.
I hope you guys don't get eaten. You seem like nice kids. Yeah, I'm not a child. I'm older than you. Really? Or maybe I'm just really immature. Well, time to go. That's what happens. They don't give a shit. And you know what they do? They say, let me give you a little advice. Don't go in there. We don't go in there. You don't go in there. Just let them
Yeah, they're useless.
Leave them an offering. An offering? Yeah, they like shoes and things like that. You have any shirts that you don't wear? Just leave them out there. They'll take them. Mm-hmm.
They also take lighters, needles, and
Baby roses.
and spoons.
Hmm.
Lots and lots of spoons for some reason.
Scorp knows. They just sucker punch him in the eye. Bam! Wish I could have seen it, man. I mean, not that I want to see Scorp get hit, but I just want to see it because it sounded funny the way it happened. It just sounded funny, Scorp. I don't know.
Knowing Scorp, he could have stopped it somehow, but he was just probably 1 or 2 seconds too slow.
Scorp, I'm telling you, man, you were way too trusting. If you think these people won't hit you, you're sadly mistaken. Now, I will say this. They've tried to hit me. Okay? And that's how I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to get into war stories. They'll try. Right? I know when it's time to retreat. And when you start hearing an entire area of woods start screaming and hollering and you can't see who's doing the screaming and hollering, it's time to get your ass out of there. And after that, when Queen Boudica came out of the woods with her little weird looking self, I didn't challenge her. I just said, okay, as long as you're only walking through. She's like, okay, Matt Dillon. That's what she called me. And I didn't mess with her. I believed her after that. That was her turf. And guess what? I never set foot in there again. And on July 4th weekend, you know what they did? They walked out of the woods with about 10 to 12 armed people, armed in various ways. And they walked out to the pool area. They kicked everybody off of the lawn furniture. Am I lying?
No.
Yeah, no. And they took the cushions. Now, they were nice enough to leave us the chairs. So I had to go to the edge of the forest and say, hey, I'm not going to say her name. I just called her Queen Boudica, and she got used to it. I said, Queen Boudica, honking my horn. Queen Boudica. She comes out with a little spear. I'm not even joking. This sounds crazy, but it's the truth. She's like, what do you want, Matt Dillon? I said, well, I don't really want them back because you've probably, soiled them. But I told her, I said, you came onto our property and we agreed no hostilities as long as you would just walk through and not stop. And you came. She goes, we needed cushions to sleep on. I said, yeah, but that property, that costs money. And you violated our agreement. I said, so now when you come through, now I'm going to have to criminal trespass. You can't, I have to call the authorities and we're going to have this whole thing. You shouldn't have done that. And guess what? That started a war that went on until December when we finally pulled out of that place. Do you see where I'm at now? Do you want to judge me? You see where I'm at? Because I had to have my guards there at all times. The patrol had to always be over there. And I had to have a guard constantly watching and monitoring. And then they began to hurl projectiles at us. And they hit Clark, one of our guards, a former Marine. He served his country. And they wounded him in his arm, hand, whatever. They threw, what would you call them, sharp rocks that were launched from some sort of ballista at our cars, at our people. They attacked the residents. They lit things on fire. And then in December, we were just like, they were like, yeah, the people that were running the place said, yeah, we just don't feel like you guys are getting it done. And we're like, yeah, we're not. We're definitely not. Goodbye. Enjoy the next group of people who are going to be assaulted and have urine thrown at them and whatever else these people can find. Enjoy having projectiles shot at you and thrown at you. Crazy people with a backpack of rocks breaking people's car windows. Yes, folks, this is what we went through. This is what we're going through. Or even at the wall where we had 6 guards at all times. And even that wasn't enough. So people can say what they want. They can say that I'm disparaging the homeless and I'm being horrible, and but that's what was going on. They're like, he disparages the homeless people. No, if you're a person and you lost your job and you're down on your luck, you don't have a place, you end up losing your place to live, or you don't have, and you sleep in your car or whatever. I will give you the shirt off my back. I will give you whatever it is that you need to get on your feet. I will help you. But if you just are crazy and you choose to live your life like that, and you want to threaten me and my people, and you want to throw things that can kill, harm, maim, you want to hurt people and their pets. Yeah, their pets. One of them did something horrible and took somebody's pet and put it into the pool. Do the math. This is what they do. This is not a normal situation where people have lost their jobs. No, they've lost their minds. And the people that run this city, you are responsible. You need to be held accountable. You are the ones that made it to where they could camp out anywhere. And then they repealed it and said, oh, wait, we got to repeal the camping. There was a camping ban in place. They repealed it. Then they put the camping ban back in place. Well, too little, too late, dumbasses. Because now they're all over the city doing whatever the hell it is that they want to do. And they have entire pockets. Don't let them fool you. Don't let them fool you. They do not have control. No, they do not.
No.
They absolutely don't. And it ain't don't blame the police, because there's not enough of them. They've been defunded. And this is also a sanctuary city where any piece of crap can commit a crime from another country and just come and hang out, and you're safe here. Then they want to tell you, oh, yeah, we'll give you $20 an hour to go and work this site. Really? Really? Because I need to pay my guard more than that to even be there. And I can't. And you know, these little crappy companies that come along and they'll do it for 15 to 18, whatever, and they'll find somebody who's sick of working at Chick-fil-A to go do it. No. This is what we're dealing with. So then we finally get somebody up there that says, hey, enough is enough of this shit. And they're like, ah! That's what you're doing. You're screaming. Screaming at the top of your lungs that you hate the man. He was a felon. They made up a bunch of shit to make him have a felony. I don't give a shit what he did. And to tell you the truth, I didn't vote for the guy the first time around. I just knew I didn't like Hillary. Hillary's evil. Look up Frazzle Drip. Well, I didn't like him. I never liked Donald Trump. You're fired. You're fired. I never liked the guy. I never liked him at all. But then I gave him a chance. And I saw things working the way they should have worked. My one complaint about him, and it pissed me off, and I'll never, ever be okay with this, was that he still tried to pander to the other side because he really thought that he could make them see reason. Hell no.
Nope.
Because if it was up to them, we'd have 338 genders, and all these crazy ass homeless people would have already eaten me. And the police would be non-existent. And you would just have a chaos. Now, if you give me that situation, boy, believe me, I'm going to thrive. I will be fine. But let's just do this. Everybody for themselves, right? And watch how well I do. I will be fine. You won't. Because you're going to have things that I want and I need, and I'm just going to take it. Because somebody like me can take from people like you. I'm talking about the morons on that side of the fence. You know why? Because you can go around town and look at in this house, we believe in science, not God. We believe in not having guns that they go bang, bang and make loud noises and scare us. And I'm going like, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
That's the house that I can walk into. And what are they going to do? Back off. I have a knife.
I'm going to use people like you as currency.
It'd be like,
I'm going to take all of your stuff and then you're going to become currency.
mm-hmm. And that's what's going to happen. But thank God we have the rule of law, right? Oh, but wait, the law was racist or whatever the hell you decided it was, or gender bias. I don't know what you're talking about. You had all these crazy reasons why the law didn't need to be around. Let's defund it. Because there's a couple of psychopaths that shouldn't be wearing a badge. So let's go ahead and just get rid of all of it. Let's just get rid of all of it. And then guess what happens? Then you have the rise of Queen Boudica. She's back. Right? And then they're like, they tell our clients, well, you got security, tell them. No, man, because we're not cops. You are. And I get it. There's not enough of you. It's just the truth. And then I'm supposed to be upset because some little turd goes up to the White House and let's be honest, folks. I don't care what Vance told him about the suit. Why don't you wear one? Are you that stupid? And like I said, if you want, I could go to Rumble and tell you exactly what I think about all that and how it happened and how it came to be. It's just the truth. But we're supposed to suspend reality and actually believe that the way things are is okay. And it's not. And what this has to do with what the show is that it's all connected, folks. All of this evil that they're pushing into this world, these are the same people that went to the Senate floor and argued for chimeric research. You think I'm playing? Nearly everybody on that side was on that side of the fence because they knew it was already happening. They are evil, folks. They are so evil, and the people that support them are so blind, deaf, and dumb, and you cannot reach them. If you think you know how I know people are smart and I know that they're not smart? It's when we start talking and we go deep down into hard in the paint. And when they tell me who do you think runs the world, and they give me some cockamamie bullshit answer, I'm like, you are not smart. You are not smart. And I'm not going to say on here who runs this world. I know who they are. I know specifically who they are. And when you give me your stupid little smarmy dumb shit answer that you've been pre-programmed from the mainstream media, from CBS, NBC, ABC, MSNBC, and the Communist News Network, and you're spinning off articles from Newsweek, get the F off of my Facebook. I'm being serious. You are so stupid. I can't even tell you how stupid you are. You could throw Fox in there too. They're not. They're basically paying lip service and the right's kissing their ass because that's all they got. Let me tell you something. The world is not what you think it is, but they know what the world is. They absolutely know because they created it the way it is. And this little fun room simulation that they've created is filled with horror. But then the people that say, hey, we shouldn't do this, then you get attacked. You get shadow banned. You get blocked, and you have little punk-ass communists like the little turd. I'm not going to say his name. I want to so bad. Who goes and says that I'm bullying and harassing by saying, hey, send me your story. And then after I take the 3-day ban, then Facebook says, oh, sorry, we made a mistake. You know you did. But all you're going to give me is a, hey, sorry, we made a mistake. Maybe one day we'll be the ones in charge of all of this. Or maybe we're just never meant to be, and we're all just going to lose our heads because we believe in Christ. And that's just the way it's going to have to be. But until that day comes, we get a little bit of a respite. So don't fight and argue with all of these idiots because you're never going to change their mind. If they couldn't see what happened over the last 4 years, how these insurance companies just ran amok and the prices of everything has gone through the roof. And now this guy's been in office for 6 weeks, folks, 6 weeks, and he hasn't fixed all the problems of the universe. I told you he wasn't going to do good because he was boo-boo. Nobody can do jack shit in 6 weeks. But they damn sure destroyed everything within 48 hours. Because you know why? It's much easier to tear up and destroy than it is to build or rebuild. Building is hard, and it takes time and effort and cooperation. One fool can destroy everything. All it takes is one viper in your midst, and it'll bite everybody. Am I wrong? It's all it takes. One crazy ass idiot, one lunatic can destroy 100 lives, 1,000, 1,000,000. And if you're one of those people who honestly can sit up here and with a straight face and think that we should have given a goofy little midget comedian who used to pretend to be the president, who was installed as a puppet by the former administration to money launder, that's what they're doing, a lot of these weapons that were being given, you know where they're ending up? They're ending up in the hands of warlords and cartel and terrorists. You think I'm joking? What do you think these people are getting these weapons? All you got to do is look at a video and you'll see them holding up M16s. Where are they getting them?
Well, not to mention that Ukraine's actually like it's considered the human trafficking capital of the world and has been for a long time, particularly underage human trafficking. So there's that too. So
Everybody knows.
I mean, I don't want like my tax money going to like you handle your own affairs. You want to fight a war, but I'm not paying for it. I don't want you to pay for it. Kill on your own dime, not mine.
Yeah.
I mean, we got bills to pay.
I mean, I was going to say, like, everybody knows there's been a lot of tensions between those countries for like a long, long time. And then all of a sudden now it's our issue where we have to solve it.
I'm not trying to babysit the world here.
I'm tired of babysitting the world.
Yeah.
I mean, we were laughing about it, but like on the way back from San Antonio, me and Wolf were talking about it, and like anytime Wolf would say something that had to do with like an issue, I'd be like, yeah, but we need to send 50 billion to Ukraine again.
Yeah, after we've already sent billions and billions of dollars, folks, I can tell you some things, dude. I mean, I could go to Rumble and I could tell you a whole lot of shit. And I challenge anybody. I'll debate anybody. You want to go? Let's go to Rumble. We'll debate. We can talk on Rumble. Show me. Because here's the thing. When you start posting articles from Newsweek or one of these other ridiculous channels that don't have any kind of whatever, right then and there, automatically it's over because you're posting from unreliable sources who have a history of attacking anybody who tells the truth. That's it. Go to foreign sources where they're all telling you this is what's happening, whether it's in Asia or in South America or Europe. Why are they all saying the same thing? But over here, the dumbasses are like, ooh, ooh, ooh. Because we used to be run and dominated and controlled by 3 media networks, CBS, NBC, and ABC, and they were all run by the same people. Did you know they were all related? Did you know that? They were all part of the same family. And when you start going down that rabbit hole, oh boy, it gets real bumpy. You're like, whoa, I didn't expect this ride. Oh, I thought that the world was, round. Then you realize you've been being pulled along like a mule your whole life. Why do you think these people see the things that they see? Why do you think these people are going through the things that they're going through? The mainstream media will not touch this. They won't talk about it. They won't let these people have a voice. So you have to do it. And then what happens? You get jacked with by the Book of Face and the Tube of You and everything else in between. Because you're saying things that they don't like. And if they can't control you, then they'll destroy you. People ask me all the time, they're like, why do you not have more people? Why are your numbers not bigger? Why are you not this? Why are you not that? Because I'm not buying them. That's why. We've been getting shadow banned and being mass reported by a pack of yokels, and they're letting it happen because, not that they like them, because some of those people have the same political view. They just know that I'm a bigger threat, so they're going to let them hamstring me. That's how it works until you figure out the little trick. But you, the listeners, all the people in the chat, Lolo, Jake, Lawrence, Shade, all of you, Tara, y'all are the people, Head Trip, you guys, Jordan Cogburn, John Sablon, you guys, and everyone in this chat, people that are listening, with the exception of the 15, 20 people that stalk me and want to kill me. And yes, you do. And you said you wanted to. Don't try to lie and say you haven't. You want to murder me. Don't say you didn't. Do not lie. Why don't you go on there and post in your little group the little plots you have, the real conspiracies about doing something to me when I was going to go speak in San Antonio. You don't talk about that, do you? No, you just say, oh, Wolf is evil and he hates his mother and he hates children and he eats people and blah, blah, blah. All this crap that you talk, it's all a bunch of bullshit. Why don't you tell the truth, you murderous little shits? You're psychopaths. You are having your day. Just like the crazy homeless people here in Austin. They're having their day. This is the devil's season. He's having his time, folks. Don't you know that he has his season? And we may lose our heads. But you know what? You don't die. You move on. Death, physical death, is a threshold to another life. And when it's time and Father God calls you home, you go. And you leave all this behind. And this is just a distant memory. I don't fear death for one reason: Jesus Christ. He's my Lord and Savior. I hear these stories from these people, and it throws you. You're shocked, you're stunned, and you're just like, wow, this is crazy what these people go through. Especially if you just take one of their stories, you're like, wow, that's crazy. But then you take them all together and put them into one big collage, and you're thinking, holy crap, what these people have gone through. But you know what? That's a temporary thing. The evil has its season, but it doesn't prevail, does it? Or they wouldn't be here to retell it. It'll scar you. And these demons and these monsters, they look big and evil and scary, and they'll hurt you if you give them that spiritual opening. But it's like Abe Sia says, don't give it to them. Don't give them that opening, folks. Be ye ever sober. Stay prayed up. Pray to God through Christ. When you pray, this is how you should pray. And I'll put this on my head if I'm wrong. God, I come unto you in the name of Christ. I ask these things in the name of Jesus, that they be done if it is your will. Please help this world to turn around. Please help this world to become a better place. Please help the people in this world to accept Jesus in their heart as their Lord and Savior. Make for them to deny evil, repent of their past sins and transgressions, and to cling to what is good and righteous. Please help us, God, to turn our face to you and away from this evil. And please help us to expose the human traffickers, the frauds, the evil that has infected and infested our world. And please expose those that are protecting it. Open the people's eyes to the truth, Lord God. May your will be done, that we serve you and only you, and not these false gods of this world that spawn off evil and create havoc for your children. In the name of Christ, amen. That is how you should pray. And if people don't like it, then don't listen. Because you know what? I'm a patriot. I love my country and I love my state. People are like, you love Texas, blah, 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 blah. You damn right I love Texas. Because we are under siege here. Because you know why? This is where we still produce real men. Real people who stand up to this crap. And yeah, we're red. Every freaking election is not even, it's a foregone conclusion. They don't even look at us because you know it's going to be that way. Because even the Hispanic people here know who belongs here and who doesn't. And I love you, whether you're not supposed to be here or not. But this is our land. And don't tell me because I'm Hispanic, I've been here 6 generations, bro. Before the Alamo. And my mother is part Comanche. So don't tell me when you're leaving, because I don't need to leave. Because I was here first. So what are you going to say to that? And don't tell me you're racist, because my best friend died in 2020 and he was black. And never once did we ever have a conversation about freaking race. You know how many people tried to go to him and try to turn him against me, or go to me and turn me against him, and never worked. Never will. And still to this day, a lot of my best friends are people from different races, religions. Some people that work for me, they're a same-sex couple. They're lesbians. I don't judge you for that. I have nothing to do with what you do. What you do in the comfort of your own home is your business. When it becomes public and it's my business, and you go to the White House and you do what you do to the elected president, if you listen to what happened in the White House, he called Vance a bitch. You think I'm joking? I heard it. Don't tell me it didn't happen. And then he says, maybe I wear a suit and look like a clown. No, you little bitch. You already look like a clown. You were on TV doing this, jumping around. I saw you. What were you doing? And now you're a president? How does that even work? How do you run a country? By his own words. On Russian television, he said that he would do anything for money. Right? He would do anything for money, this guy. Wake up to the reality that we're living in. The fact that that guy had the balls to bring his little midget ass and sit in the Oval Office and sit, not even wearing a suit, just wearing some kind of jumpsuit, or I don't know what he was doing Pilates before he got there. He was at Planet Fitness. I don't know what the hell he was doing. But I can't stand the little bastard. I never have. Now, that doesn't mean I like Putin. I don't like him either. I think he's a creepy old douchebag that needs to retire. I really do. Sorry to hurt your feelings, but he's not a great guy either. But when people start talking about the history and this and that, no. Communism. The Soviet Union was controlled by communism, and the Holodomor killed millions and millions of people in the Ukraine by the Russians. But it wasn't just the Ukraine. It was Belarus. It was Latvia. It was Estonia. It was the Baltic countries, Lithuania. These people were starving to death. If you think that the footage of the Holocaust is bad, you should see the Holodomor. Way more people died. They starved to death in a place where they should have been, and that gave rise to Hitler. Because he used that at a speech in Nuremberg. He says, in a place that should have been the breadbasket of Europe, millions of people are starving. This is the legacy of communism. Do you want communism? And the people are like, no. Well, let's do this other crazy shit. Let's have fascism. Okay. They wanted it because they didn't want that. That's the truth. But, like Pee Wee Herman says, there's always a big but. But, this is not 1939. This is not 1949. This is not 1999. This It's not 2015. This is 2025. And that war ain't got shit to do with that other war. I'm telling you right now, this war was started, orchestrated, and created by the past administration. I don't give a shit what your stance is. I don't care. I know, and maybe you don't. And if you don't want to hear it, then change go somewhere else and listen to whatever else is on Wednesday, the Communist News Network. We got your back, comrade. We tightened a noose around Russia. You gave them very little options. Honestly, I watched it happen. Ukraine was never supposed to be a part of NATO. And we could go on and on. It was a coup. This guy was not an elected official. He was installed. They cheated, they lied, they do what they always do. He doesn't represent the people of Ukraine. He literally threw elected officials in jail that opposed him. I'm not even joking, folks. One of them was in jail for 14 months. I just posted it on my Facebook. Go look. You think I'm joking? The guy got thrown in jail, folks. An elected official because he disagreed with this little weasel. You think I'm kidding? This dude has imprisoned his enemies. He stays in power because he declares martial law, and every election has been swept under the rug. And yes, Chris Anderson, he was a freaking comedian because only a stupid-ass comedian could be as dumb and ignorant as this guy. He doesn't care about his people because you know what? He's really not even Ukrainian. I'm going to tell you right now, folks, there's a lot that I wish I could say, and I can't. And maybe it's someday when we have more freedom of speech, I can say what I got to say. I just hit 40,000 on YouTube. Maybe when I hit 100, 200, maybe 1,000 more, 1,000 times a million, then I can say what I got to say. When the PRT army is bigger and stronger. Because right now, all they do is attack. And I think this, folks, they're paying them to do it because they don't like what I'm saying. Because I come real. And I don't give a shit about the numbers. I don't care. I don't care if 2 people show up or 1,000 people show up. The bottom line is I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and it's going to be the truth. And people don't like it. They don't like it. This dude goes over there to the White House and makes an absolute fool of himself and our leaders. Then the left latches onto it because they're that small-minded and they believe this shit. That was all part of it. You go to another country and you ask for $50 billion and you talk like that, you act like it's a foregone conclusion. And they're like, oh, they wanted to take his mineral rights. Hell yeah, because he's already taken $180 billion from us. What do we get for that? Can we not get something back?
Can we at least get some dirt? I mean,
can we have some soil that can give us something? Oh, how dare you? He didn't want to bend to corporate interests. The hell he doesn't. He's owned and controlled and bought by them. What are you talking about? And here again, Jake said something about the Nazi thing. Let me tell you something. There was a unit that fought, well, 3 of them actually, that fought for Ukraine against the Soviets during World War II. Now, I don't judge that because they were fighting against the Red Plague, communism. And they were just doing, this is the best deal we got. So they went with the black against the red. You can't really blame them. They didn't know who was good, who was bad. All they knew was these guys were going to fight the same bastards that had killed millions of their people. And no, Ukraine was not a part of Russia. Don't tell me that. If you're ignorant as shit if you say that, don't tell me I'll slap your face. Look, listen to what I'm saying. Okay? This is what I'm going to tell you. These people, though, they stayed there and they're still there. There are whole legions of them there. Anti-Russian units that have become a part of this. Antagonistic. Doing all kinds of crap. These people. Ukraine is one of the most corrupt places on earth, and it is not the Ukrainian people. It is their government. And their government is what gave them the opportunity. These bad people that were in charge. Who do you think Hunter was? What do you think he was doing over there, folks? How can you be so stupid and ignorant to not know why the hell that little bastard was over there hanging out with Zelensky? And then all of a sudden, we're giving him all this. The corruption runs through their veins. Do you think it's any wonder that eventually Putin invaded? It was going to happen. He had already lined them up at the border for months, and he had said this. And over here, they act like it just happened out of the blue. It was like a magic act.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony.
Yeah.
Do you remember 6 months before he invaded? Didn't I say he was going to invade before winter? I was shocked that he waited.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
I said it. I called it. I said they're creating a war. And let me tell you something. The left isn't good at fighting wars, man. Okay? I'm going to tell you that right now. The Soviet Union was getting the holy, ever-loving shit beat out of them by the Reich. I don't give a hell who you are. I don't care what historian or what British accent you have. I don't give a shit. I've read 1,000,000 books on this shit, and I can tell you I've looked at it from every angle. They were bleeding to death. The Nazis had pushed deep into Russia. They were 10 kilometers from Moscow. It was a done deal. The Allies gave them supplies, and then we went over there and bled to death, and 400,000 of us died to save their ass. For what? So now that when they got their shit together, we can go fight them and slaughter them and kill them? No, bitch, you should have fucking fought them and slaughtered them and killed them back in 1945. You should have rearmed the little Nazi bastards and made them go in there and finish the job, and then marched them all off to a freaking camp. Every damn one of them. But you didn't do that. You didn't do what Patton said. No. We listened to that little bulldog head military industrial complex puppet named Eisenhower. And now we're in where we're at because every country that we helped that was our supposed ally during World War II became our enemy. Vietnam, war zone. Korea, war zone. China, enemy. Russia, enemy. Serbia, enemy. All of those countries we helped. We helped. Because the truth is, we never should have been over there. It was not our fight. Britain got us into it. I love the British people. I absolutely adore the British people, but I hate your government, and I despise the royal family. I mean, with every fiber of my being, I hate your government, and I hate the royal family. They are human-eating lizards. And this world is run by vampires, folks. It is. They drink the blood of our children. That's why Putin said the vampire ball's coming to an end. Then we get a guy that comes up there and says, hey, we need to get the bottom of this. We're going to do something about it. And all they want to do is do your smarmy little bullshit and pump out your little freaking articles. You better hope to God that I'm not able to debate you because I'm going to shred your ass. You'll be held. I'm going to call you to the floor on all of the bullshit you post. Don't come at me and tell me you have the answers and that you're this super smart guy because you aren't. You're not that smart. If you're that damn smart, you wouldn't be doing and saying what you're doing. You'd be looking at the situation objectively because you know why? You don't know history. You don't know history. I do. Whether you're on the left or you're on the right, tell the truth. Don't just slant shit so it sounds good. Tell the truth. There's some give and take on both sides. Why would you give your money to support a family that does nothing for you? All they've ever done is lord over you and take what's not theirs, that they never worked for and that they don't deserve. And now our politicians have become the new oligarchs, the royal family. They work for us. How in the hell are you getting paid? What are you doing? How does AOC get in there and in what, 8 years? How long has this stupid donkey tooth bitch been in there? She's worth $48 million or whatever it is. How in the hell on a salary of $140,000 a year does she turn it into $48 million? Tell me that. This goofy ass girl was a bartender. This other guy, he was a comedian. What are you doing, folks? And then they're over there like, these are the people that need to be. Dude, these are the same people that don't know which restroom to use, folks. They're at Sam's and they're like, which restroom do I go to? I'm just going to pee-pee my pants because I can't figure it out. I went into the restroom and I'm going to be nice and not say the name of the place. But they had a sign up in the men's restroom. Of course, it is Austin. It's Austin, right? Keep Austin full of shit. And that said, please don't throw feminine.
Wow.
Please don't throw feminine napkins in the toilet. And I'm like, what guy is menstruating?
Well, maybe he has a man pawn.
I got my period. Because, no, Mike, you didn't. Or James, or whatever the hell your name is. No, Tim, that's not how it works. Maybe you're bleeding down there because you have some sort of, well, sexually transmitted disease that's untreated. But you're not going to be doing that because you're not a woman. And let me tell you something else. Newsflash, you're not a swimmer. You're not a woman swimmer either. Nor are you a female bodybuilder. You're just a little punky-ass dweeb who would come in 12th place in any contest amongst men, but amongst women, you're the strongest because the magic word, testosterone. You have just enough to qualify. You need testosterone? I'll give you some. I got enough for about 15 people. I'm like a damn bull shark. What in the hell is wrong with these people? And why are we even sitting here having to entertain their bullshit? Because that's what it is. A bunch of bullshit. Oh, yeah, you're a woman. Okay, dick. Yeah. Paula. Not going to do it. Not going to play your game. I was in Costco the other day, and there was a guy in front of me with a dress. No panties, nothing. It was just swinging right there. Hi, how are you doing? This kale went bad. I don't know. I gotta get some more. I just had that. And I'm just there like, oh,
You got any children?
oh my God.
You have any beautiful children I can
My name is
look at?
Corey. And I'm like, yeah, I'll bet. Turned around and looked at me. How are you doing today? I'm just looking away like, God, please don't let me hurt this person. Just don't talk to me, please. I'm trying to be nice, and I don't mean physically hurt him, but I was going to say something really rude and just be like, you're a man. Can you stop? I mean, you're swinging all over the place. This is just too much. And this one lady that was checking, ma'am. Are you saying ma'am or man? I had to say something because I'm a smart ass. Oh, I said ma'am. I go, oh, okay. I was just making sure. I don't want you to be rude to the man. I mean, ma'am, because you got to say ma'am to the man. The man. He's not a man. He's a man. He's a man. Or he's a man. No, he wants to be a man. I don't know. This person's over there like, Well, how dare you? I just looked away. Didn't say anything else because, don't want to be too mean. Then this douchebag who's always sucking on the what's it called? The vape thing. He comes over there. Do you have a problem here? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, you're doing stuff to that vape thing, and you got this guy over here in a dress. What's happening here? What's going on? Am I being assaulted? Well, it just seems like you're not being very polite. I'm sorry. I said man, ma'am, whatever. Okay. He's literally doing that in the store, walking around like that, wearing cowboy boots, and he's walking like this with cowboy boots. There's a little, you saw him, Anthony.
Yeah.
You saw him. I said, look at this gay cowboy eating pudding. And then the next thing you know, he's eating pudding. No, I'm joking. That part, I took it too far. He wasn't eating pudding. It wasn't carpet. I tell you, gay cowboy's eating pudding. No, he wasn't. But he should have been. Because he was over there just with the vape. Watching me. Making sure I couldn't steal nothing. But Corey or Casey or whatever the hell its name was don't pay attention to that. The Jane's Addiction, just sticking the vegetables up the skirt. Walk right through the door. Nobody cares about that. Let it go. Just let him go. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. He just wants to be an it. You're awful. You're terrible. You're horrible. You're terrible. How did he eat the pudding again? Like that. That's how they eat the pudding. That's how they do it. And then they vape like this. Well, they're all about that. He was sucking on that vape like. That's what he was doing. Right in my face. In my face, this guy. And then he walked off like this, like the church lady.
Well, no, you're supposed to be okay with it because it's not cigarettes.
But it's not a cigarette, so you can blow it all over the place.
Yeah.
And how dare you call man thing, man, whatever. Don't say ma'am. Don't say man, my bad. And it's like, are you messing with me? Are you kidding me? And I'm like, I'm not kidding with nothing. Just pay for your eggplants and go. But what I won't do is play ball or balls. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. It's ridiculous. But this is the world we live in. That other side is mentally ill, and they want us to believe, to suspend reality, and to believe in this bullshit. But then if you tell them, hey, you know what? Vampires and werewolves are real. Oh, my God, you believe in that? Well, I'm looking at you, Henrietta. I believe in a lot of things now. I mean, if I didn't believe in Bigfoot before, I believe in, whatever. But we're the crazy ones. We're the stupid ones. I can't believe that they have a felon in the White House. I can't believe it. Well, I couldn't believe old, Slick Willie did what he did. Oh, come on now, Monica. Let's play hide the salami. It's all good. Let's just have fun. While Hillary's over there, killing people. That never happened either, right? They didn't bring billions of dollars of cocaine into the country either, right? That's all conspiracy theories.
It's just a Republican lie.
It's a Republican lie. And their buddies, the Bushes, had nothing to do with 9/11.
No.
Because you know why we know? Because Bush was reading a book upside down to children whenever it happened. I thought that was the dumbest president we ever had until Biden. He was like, "Oh, let me tell you something. A fool that gets fooled can't be the fool to be the fool again."
Where wings take dream.
Look up how Skull and Bones get initiated. It's the gayest shit ever. Him and John Kerry, head to head. probably more ways than one. And then you got these the Killians. I'm sorry, the Clintons, with a body count higher than most serial killers. And then you had Obama. Let me tell you something. I'm the best president that there's ever been. There'll never be a better president than me. I killed more people in war and drone strikes than all of the administrations put together before me. I'm pulling out of Iraq. Wait, I'm not, because it's too lucrative. I sold weapons to ISIS. Now they're holding it against me, and I got to keep doing it.
Sold weapons to the cartel too.
To the cartel.
So they could track them.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
This guy did some of the worst shit you could ever imagine. And then we get this guy in there, and they're like, I hate this guy. He said some mean words. He said, grab him by the P word. Oh, my gosh. He said some bad, mean things. He said that people from those countries should stay in those countries and not come here and take benefits. This is a horrible, evil, bigot, racist guy, and he needs to be punished. He's terrible. He said that men should play men's sports and women should play women's sports. What's wrong with this man? This is ridiculous. Emphasis on the ridiculous. I'm telling you right now, if you are of that mental persuasion and you have that mental illness, get the F off of my Facebook, unsubscribe to my channel, go away, do not pass go, do not talk, don't look in my direction. I don't want to know you exist because I'm so sick of it. I can't take it. Unless you want to actually talk to me and debate me, and we can go to what's it called? Rampage, Rumble, and we can rampage all day long. And I will shred you to ribbons because I have a little thing that we call facts. You have something that we call emotions. Two different things. Yeah, Shane, exactly. This is what happens when the Democrat leadership caters to people they actually hate for voters. Yeah, for votes. Every leftist I see seems to claim some mental disorder, depression, and yeah, they're crazy. That's exactly right. But don't get too far in it; they'll kill you.
Don't
do
argue with
something.
these people when they pipe up. Just do this. Just ask them how many meds they're on. There's always a number, and it's never zero. And they're gonna get really pissed off because you know that they're on meds.
Yeah.
Just ask them. Like they start going on Trump right winger, Republican. Blah, 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 blah. Just be like, okay, hey, how many meds are you on? Works every time.
They can't tell you themselves why they're so damn crazy. But like I said about some people in this community, and it never gets old. No country for old men. You know what I'm talking about? Thank you for that donation. We appreciate it. Do you have any idea how fucking crazy you really are?
I gotta clip that so we can start.
You got to
using it.
start just using it as a meme.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson, he's just sitting. He knows he's about to die, and the guy, what's his name? The crazy guy with the
No, but the Javier Bardem, the actor.
Javier Bardem. What's his name?
Yeah.
Javier Bardem.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, I'm not gonna do this stupid shit to you because I'm stupid and I don't know what gender I am and I can't figure out what bathroom to use. And I could just see him, and he's just like, you don't know what gender you are, boy. Do you have any idea how fucking crazy you really are? Well, it doesn't matter because they voted me in and I'm going to kill you with this thing here because I'm crazy and I got a pumpkin pie haircut and freak and I pretended to be the president. And give me 40 billion, bitch. Maybe I wear a clown suit too. I don't know. Yeah. They should have had Woody Harrelson come out and just sit there and go, Zelensky, what the fuck are you talking about? Why are you so damn crazy? Why do you dress the way you do? Why do you act the way you do? Why are you such a sick little freak? Anyways, folks. Oops, maybe I went too far. I don't know. They're probably going to make a meme about me. He lost his mind. Ooh. I assure you I haven't. I know a lot of people who have. Whatever, folks. We love you. Thank you, everybody that donated. We appreciate it. It's all just fun and games. Everything that we talked about on here was for entertainment purposes only. We don't really believe in, being normal.
We're farming.
Yeah. We are completely.
It's just content.
Content.
We don't believe
That's all it is. We're non-biased. Non-biased observers.
We don't even have beliefs.
We're just automatons. That's it. Like the guy from, was it Morbid Facts? Did you know that Zelensky was nothing but a paid puppet to become the president of Ukraine so that they could money launder billions of dollars? Morbid Facts. Did you know that he was also a little comedian? Did you know that he once said that he would do anything for money and he used to pretend to be the president in a show? Morbid Facts. It could go on and on. True. And it is morbid, folks. Right? All right, guys. Thank you so much. We appreciate you tuning in. Sorry for the rant. I mean, at the 2-hour mark, if you tell your friends that are on the left and they get their feelings hurt and they cry, or if they hear a firecracker go off, they wet themselves and have PTSD and bad dreams, make sure to let them know, hey, right around the 2-hour mark, ease up. Don't watch anymore. After that point, the guy goes completely into the truth, which they do not swim in that. And this right here, this will offend them too, because they stand with every country but ours. You know that. So anyway, folks, whatever it takes, though, right? Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to keep the insanity in my veins, right? Whatever it takes. We love you. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, if we're still on the air, we haven't been totally banned after the bullshit they've already pulled on us. We'll be back tomorrow night. I'll be here at 5:00 p.m. Central. I'm doing this at 5:00. I got a lot of things to do before, a lot of things to do after. But at 5:00, I'll be on for an hour or two, at least probably a couple hours, I guess, I would assume, with a real OG. He'll be here tomorrow. It's a secret. I don't want to say it because then they'll come running over there to him and be like, hey, you're crazy. So is he. So he's coming on tomorrow night, folks. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate everybody who helped us on this long journey get to 40,000. It took us 6 years, right? So if we were buying subs, don't you think we'd have had it here 40,000 a long time before 6 years? 6 years, folks. But they say the more you get, the faster it goes, the better it gets. So it should be easier, right? We'll see. We'll see how long it takes us to get to 50, right? We hope that it goes quickly. We hope that we get 50. One of these days, I might even get one of those little trophies, the plaques that people have bought, because they buy them. They do. Like, I just started my channel 2 weeks ago and I got 380,000 subscribers. You know why? Algorithms, bro. Have you heard of algorithms? They grow on trees. Yeah, right. Trees. No, you're lying and it's fake. And shut up. Right? So we did it correctly. We got to 40,000. It took us 6 years. People told us, you can't do it this way. You can't do it that way. You know, people aren't going to listen to an hour-long show. You're going to have to figure something else out, blah, blah, blah. Nope. We did it. All right, folks, we love you. We'll see you. Good night.